Part 327. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 3275. He finally knew why it was said that 10 families from the Beidong area came to besiege the Cai clan's camp, but they were defeated and had to negotiate peace with the Cai clan. Even if the 10 families are just the 10 families in the Beidong area, there is still a high probability of inviting 1 or 2 lower-level domain lords to help, and there are many people and strength, but just like this, they cannot break through the Cai clan's station. It shows that this is really not an easy place to break into. But he, Jia Yan, came in single-handedly. From anyone's point of view, he would only be a laughing stock. Maybe there won't be any injuries, after all, the lower level of the territory lord is still strong enough. However, the overwhelming defense system, the endless technological creations piled up with money, and even the complete blockade of subspace will make it difficult for Jia Yan to move even an inch, and eventually he will withdraw in embarrassment. This is definitely a joke. If word spread, it will greatly damage Jia Yan's personal reputation. But, is this really the case? He didn't just come to fight an uncertain battle. After asking so many experts from the outside forces of the Cai clan, if he couldn't even find out the defense level of the White Cave station, wouldn't he be lonely in his investigation? Moreover, the Cai clan wanted so much land, why did Jia Yan choose this place? Nothing is without reason. One of the key reasons is that there seems to be no one of the same level sitting here. Although Jia Yan has great trust, he does not have the idea of being superior to others at the same level. He is now strong enough and boasts that he has surpassed many masters of the same level. However, he knows that there are many more powerful masters of the same level above him. Because he is at most a 30-50 step person on the heavenly road, and with his array ability, he is probably no more than a 50-step expert. There are still 50 steps above that, and there may be many such lower-level territory lords in the galaxy. The colorful butterfly clan, which can occupy the key area of White Cave, claims to the outside world that there is no lower level of domain lord, but who believes it? Anyway, Jia Yan wouldn't believe it. Maybe this means that they may not have a new generation of domain lords, but there are old people who are very old and may be about to die. The old guy from a big family, his strength is scary enough when you think about it. This is just one of the reasons why Jia Yan attacked Beidong Station. The second reason is that this white hole area is large enough, and his every move will be watched by all parties. Later, he can even use his status as a conqueror to occupy some of the interests of the white hole area, which means that he has already, as I said, let some of the trade resources in the trade zone be tilted towards this place. Mixed with the power of victory, there must be many people who sell their face. Of course there are 3, 4. Anyone can find many reasons for this. In fact, the key is that you want to do this. If you don't want to do it, no one can force you to do it, no matter how good it is. If you really want to do it, even if there is no reward, you will definitely be willing to keep busy. Go to hell. Just as Jia Yan and Metal were fighting each other, a figure suddenly emerged from among a bunch of fortresses. Huh? Anyone else dare to come in person? Jia Yan was surprised. Everyone in the Cai clan obviously knows their strength and identity, so there are still people coming to die like this? But not necessarily. In such a situation, those who dare to show up are either willing to die or have certain confidence. Jia Yan believes that the other party is the latter. Don't overestimate your own capabilities. He smiled playfully and thrust out his foot. Ding! Where the two sides met, a burst of golden light flashed, as if a new star appeared around the white hole, illuminating a large area. Oh! Sure enough, he has some skills. Jia Yan nodded slightly and smiled, but then his eyes suddenly changed. The other party also felt a little frightened along with Jia Yan's gaze. Not good. Before he could make any further reaction, he saw an earth-shattering aura emerging from the tip of Jin's foot where it intersected. The blue circle-shaped thing shot hard into the gap in the opponent's fist. Puff. Blood splattered. The man let out a loud snort and retreated backwards. In the next moment, he avoided another fatal foot stab from Jia Yan. A group of fortresses behind him rushed forward, wrapping Jia Yan in them, giving this person a master created enough opportunities for escape. As expected, you are indeed a stunning genius of the Cai Dai clan. You should be the so-called Mr. Kishi, right? Jia Yan was not surprised by the group attack from the fortress, and Gu Jing was able to cope with it without wavering. Your Excellency, Jia Yan has good vision, but don't be so sinister in your tone. As a lower-level territory lord, you can't even take down a senior territory lord like me. You are the one who will be embarrassed if you say it. Haha, did I say that I was going to capture you? Besides, if I really wanted to capture you, do you think the tricks you just used were enough to escape from my grasp? There was silence on the other side. In the duel just now, it was obvious that Jia Yan did not use all his strength. As an enemy of Jia Yan, Mr. An knew best. His whole body was filled with brilliance, and the extremely dazzling brilliance emerged among the colorful butterfly wings, making him look like the most beautiful male life form in the world. In the Milky Way, beauty is the most important selling point of colorful butterfly creatures. Everyone knows that the colorful butterfly clan is famous for its male and female beauties, and there are almost no ugly individuals. This Mr. Kishi is no exception. Flying in the starry sky, he looks like a male life form coming out of a painting, which is extremely eye-catching. But at this time, he was still suppressed by Jia Yan. No matter in terms of momentum or eye-catching degree, they have lost a lot. Although Jia Yan's appearance is not as gorgeous as the others, his dark giant mosquito body is also mysteriously black and completely black, and after possessing the traces of Taoist training, his aura becomes more inexplicable, calm and mysterious. This also adds a lot of color to it. That's why he was able to completely overshadow the youngest genius of the Cai Dai clan, who was famous for his eye-catching appearance and momentum. But there is no point in covering it here. In someone else's territory, do you expect members of the other party's family to pay homage to Jia Yan? Jia Yanj, the purpose of your coming is probably my clan's Kunmei. To be honest, Kunmei is indeed here, but as Kunmei's brother, I cannot hand her over to you. If senior wants to, if you want something else, just say it, and as long as it's not excessive, I can make the final decision. Oh? Is concubine Kun right here? I didn't run away in vain. Jia Yandan smiled. Originally, he came here just to try his luck. It would be best to have concubine Kun. If not, he would not be discouraged. After all, the reason for coming here is not just for concubine Kun. The other party is not strong enough to make Jia Yan go to war like this. To put it bluntly, she is just a galaxy level, and Jia Yan going out for her is too much of a loss of face. What Jia Yan wants is a reason. Officially intervene in this area, and find out who is causing trouble behind concubine Kun's back. Your Excellency Jia Yan, I will say this once, if you continue to oppose me, the Cai Dai clan, it will not do any good. Ha ha ha, Junior, although you may be older than me in age, you are far behind in terms of vision and knowledge. Since you think that Yukaidi clan can do anything to me, Jia Yan, why not take it out now and give it a try? I will let you see whether the so-called lower level of Domain Lord is as easy to deal with as you say. Cai Dai, the incarnation of Mr. Nan, looked very ugly. He naturally knew that Jia Yan was not that easy to deal with. And judging from the expressions on the faces of the elders in the family when they mentioned this person in the past, it is very likely that he is not an ordinary junior Domain Lord. But people are calling at his doorstep, and even demanding that Kun may be handed over. Is that possible for him? Impossible. Concubine Kun's relationship with him had become very heated in the past few days. Maybe if she works harder, Kunmi can go back and break off the relationship with the so-called Shanlu and fall into her arms. To top experts, it doesn't matter how many husbands a female has had. You can't ask someone who has stellar strength and is hundreds or even thousands of years old to have never been in a relationship, right? This is unrealistic and violates the covenant of the strong. Otherwise, females would be required to abide by the so-called womanly ways. How can the strong continue their genes? Concubine Kun had only married a few husbands, which was extremely few times compared to her hundreds of years of life. And more importantly, Concubine Kun is not only a recognized beauty among the Cai clan, but also a young genius whose strength has reached the high level of a star. There are not many strong female masters in this universe, and a female master who can reach the lower level of a star is even rarer. There are many people who want to chase her. If Mr. N can catch her, he can be considered a fool in front of everyone. The little girl blushed once. For these thoughts of his, Jia Yan didn't understand it at all. Otherwise, he would not have refused Concubine Kun's purposeful approach. At least I can try something new. But just because he can't understand it, don't talk about trying it out. Even if he let the other person get closer to him, he would feel sick. In a sense, Satsuma-chan's move to transform into an earthling was actually the real reason for her marriage to Jia Yan. Jia Yan really can't accept other styles. It's simply unreasonable. It's a shame for a person like you to practice to the lower level of a territory lord. When Mr. N saw that Jia Yan was staying away from the conversation and seemed like he couldn't even continue the conversation, he suddenly became gloomy and his previous calm temperament was no longer there. The two sides fought again. Of course, it's not a head-on battle between Mr. N and Jia Yan. He doesn't have the ability yet. And he himself knew this, so he calmly commanded a large number of fortresses nearby. Together with robots tens of kilometers high coming from far away, he launched an overwhelming siege offensive against Jia Yan. It's like one person against thousands of troops. Moreover, thousands of troops still suffered losses and were retreating steadily. Is this the so-called top defense system? It does have something to it. Jia Yan once again repelled an attack from the fortress, but without noticing, a robot figure behind him approached him, and the endless explosive power contained in his body burst out. He was hit hard and staggered, looking slightly embarrassed. What a defense that cannot be underestimated. Jia Yan's eyes flickered as he looked at the countless defense system objects that seemed to have no end in sight. They are all the works of various construction masters, and there are also many creative objects that are many years old, which shows that these are all the amazing armies that the Cai family has spent an unknown number of years slowly building. If released, it would be enough to destroy a small area of small and medium-sized forces in the central star field of the Milky Way. But right here, one after another was destroyed by Jia Yan. Those war fortresses were as huge as asteroids, and they were torn apart one by one, with corpses broken into thousands of pieces. Jia Yan also felt a little difficult while typing. Just now, he didn't let off steam again, but he was actually hit by a robot in a sneak attack. Although this moment, it was not much harm to him, and it was probably not even considered harm, but it was definitely a moment that made a junior territory lord feel extremely humiliated. Hey, Jia Yan, you are so talkative as you said, but you actually fought with the army of your own clan and were defeated like this. What else do you think you can do? If I had known you were so incompetent, I would have sent the army of life from our family here. I'm sure I would have had the badge of slaughtering the lower rank of the domain lord hanging on me. Give up your struggle. You think there are only so many of these armies. You are wrong. My family has countless unmanned life armies. These are just a drop in the bucket. Young Master N was on the outskirts of the battle group, and his originally uneasy mood became slightly better. After carefully recalling it, he felt that he was not too weak in the head-to-head confrontation with Jia Yan before. If he followed the unmanned army and surrounded him now, wouldn't he have a chance to kill this territorial master? He was captured in an encirclement, but as a senior domain master, even if he killed the enemy opportunistically, it would definitely be big news that shocked the entire galaxy. Something moved in his mind. No, I can't be impulsive. Which of these junior domain lords is Yu? If I am impulsive, I might play into the enemy's hands. Master Kishi is still quite calm. Not fooled. Jia Yan fought against an overwhelming unmanned combat team there. Seeing this, he couldn't help but shake his head with a slight sigh. He didn't seize the opportunity just now and directly captured Mr. N. This was the thing he regretted the most since the war started. If Mr. N is caught, with his status, it is possible even if he is exchanged for concubine Kun. It's a pity that the opportunity never comes again. If he misses it, he will miss it forever. In that case, let me show some real ability. His seemingly clumsy figure burst out at a speed that exceeded the limit at the next moment. Yes. Jia Yan, who seemed to be going all out before, actually held back. People who dare to play like this in the enemy's lair can see how strong Jia Yan's self-confidence is. In fact, it is correct to say that Jia Yan is pretending, and it is also reasonable to say that he is not pretending. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 3276. Because he was really going all out just now. But it was just his normal cosmic powerhouse power that went all out. There are still no cosmic powerhouses who have joined the Yin and Yang Dao, and their strength is at most only a little bit stronger than the average senior domain master. Placed inside the black hole area, it is a pseudo-powerful. In this way, the other party thinks that his own strength is just that. Of course it is reasonable from any angle. After all, Jia Yan has just been promoted for less than a century. In such a year, from an outsider's point of view, it is reasonable to stay at the level of a first-time domain master and lower level. Otherwise, how can other masters survive? At least judging from the exchanges within the Cai clan, many people think that Jia Yan's rumors are exaggerated. Especially his improvement after entering the other world, there were huge errors due to the lack of intelligence. Especially for a talented young leader like Ngongzi, it is even more impossible for him to believe that a character like Jia Yan, who is much younger than himself, after becoming a lower-ranking domain lord by chance, can improve so quickly. Otherwise, where would he put his face? In short, Jia Yan now is ready to open the eyes of the other party. I have been traveling across the galaxy for many years, and I have been promoted to the lower level of territory lord in 100 years. Do you think this is all I have? Jia Yanyun smiled lightly, and a power that only belonged to Yin and Yang Dao burst out from his body. The colors of the wind and clouds in the sky changed, and positive and negative forces rose up and down, like a dragon traveling thousands of miles, roaring around a white cave. The sounds of morning bells and evening drums rippled out. In heaven and earth, there is good and bad, and the right and wrong are the great principles of the universe. Jia Yan's words spread loudly, and the power of his brain waves surged like a vast ocean, striking hard at the endless defense army in front of him. Whether it was a robot or a giant fortress, they were all destroyed by these attacks. It was simply devastating, and countless giant war weapons turned into powder. What's this? The so-called Mr. N's face suddenly became extremely ugly. He had long known that any lower-level territory lord would be difficult to deal with, so he never thought that he could really kill Jia Yan this time. However, he wanted to try whether he could injure the newly promoted young territory lord at the lower level. Precisely because Jia Yan was so young, deep down in his heart, he could not help but feel a little jealous and contemptuous. Due to his age, even if Jia Yan has combat experience, he is definitely much worse than his elders. So naturally, you will be looked down upon. Even senior domain lords dare to look down upon him. Especially Mr. N, who is a rising star in the Kaidi clan, thinks that Jia Yan is just lucky. Otherwise, why would he, a top genius, not be promoted to the lower level of domain lord? What about that legendary realm? In such a mood, he launched a fierce attack on Jia Yan, and performed extremely well, commanding countless Cai Dai clan defense unmanned combat troops. He almost thought he was going to win. Do you still think this is the last level of domain lord? Then came the moment of slap in the face. Forward and reverse yin and yang? You didn't use it just now. Mr. Kishi watched countless unmanned combat force weapons created by the Kaidi clan spending huge financial and material resources, which were completely defenseless from their peak state, being crushed and destroyed. An unspeakable palpitation surged into his heart. He knew about Jia Yan's famous stunt Yin Yang Dao. But he thought that Jia Yan had already used Yin Yang Dao when he fought with them before. But what I never expected was only used now. Didn't I say that Yin and Yang Dao is Jia Yan's basic combat ability? Why didn't you use it at all when you took action just now? Could it be that the other party has been teasing me? His face was earthy. The appearance of the colorful butterfly life forms can also reveal their emotions. Just like each major life form has its own way of showing its appearance, if the colorful butterfly family is frightened, the color of their body surface will change. Mr. N's feathers and gorgeous brilliance suddenly turned into a dull color. It meant that he was not only emotionally frightened, but also had some kind of fear. Boom! Space oscillates. Endless power surged to the sky. The radiation flow formed by the white hole was also affected by one of the forces, opening the missing corner of the white hole jet, causing a trace of energy to directly overflow. From the outside, it looked like sunlight shooting out from the resident area. Plummeted thousands of miles. The energy turmoil caused by the imbalance of power is by no means just an ordinary appearance difference. A huge amount of radiation jets began to spread in the surrounding cosmic space. It was so undead that this was the residence of the colorful butterfly clan, so the excess power was like an out-of-control mad cow, raging in the sky. Many members of the colorful butterfly clan screamed and ran out of the range of energy diffusion. However, how could their speed be faster than the speed of light? They were overtaken in a moment, and then swallowed whole, screaming and turning into scorch marks. Master Kishi. Senior Kishi, get the battlefield out of this area quickly. Don't affect the children, they are the hope of our Cai Dai family for thousands of years to come. As many young members of the colorful butterfly clan died in the radiation of energy, many elderly members of the colorful butterfly clan flew over, exclaiming and looking at the enemy who had caused this tragedy with hatred. Character, Jia Yan. At this time, Jia Yan acted as if he had never done anything, looking at the scene that he had destroyed with a calm expression. In front of him, Mr. N looked dumbfoundedly at the Wanyang army that had been reduced by more than half, and then looked at the scene of destruction of the white hole passage caused by the attack of positive and negative forces. Although the radiated passage could not be changed by manpower, slowly it will return to the original direction, but even so, human power can cause a slight distortion in the white hole radiation flow, which makes ordinary life forms, and even the powerful people in the universe, feel terrified, and feel that it is not caused by human power. For the sake of things. Stop it! Mr. N reacted to the exclamations of a group of elders from the clan, and his expression suddenly turned ferocious. If Jia Yan is allowed to continue attacking like this, his status in the clan will be completely ruined. After all, Mr. Tahan's role in the clan is that of a gentle and elegant person who treats the younger members of the clan as his own. Now, if his fight with the enemy resulted in the death and injury of countless members of the clan, especially the younger generation, his sin would be great. Even if he could survive, he might be ostracized by the race and lose his status from then on. Ah! Blow it up! Suddenly, a group of fortresses and unmanned robots suddenly rushed towards Jiayan, their bodies flashing with powerful energy light groups. A moment later, the earth shook, and large swaths of destructive energy swept across the area. But this energy also spread in this area, at most to the gate, and did not affect the white hole ray flow. What's the best way? This not only interrupts my offensive, but also allows the noble children to be protected. I have to say that you are a rare, brave and resourceful person among the senior domain lords. No wonder the Cai Dai clan is like this. I value you. Jia Yan's voice rang out from the endless waves of fire. This giant mosquito was safe and sound, its body exuding a faint blue color, and it walked out of the flames without even a trace of injury. Mr. N is really a little desperate. Is this the lower level of Domain Lord? He clearly felt that he was only one level behind the lower level of Territory Lord. Why, it's obviously only one level difference, but it's like seeing a god. Completely helpless. He used techniques that could withstand the joint offensive of the 10 major families in the White Cave area, as well as a large number of resources and weapons and equipment, but he could not even break the skin of the lower-ranking Domain Lord. The difference is so great that it is despairing. Hand over concubine Kun. The most I can do is ask some questions and then turn around and leave. Mr. N continued to pretend not to hear. There may have been a real loss of consciousness just now, but as a strong man, how could he have been lost for such a long time? Jia Yan concluded that he was stalling for time or thinking of other ways. There is no need to delay. The only solution that Cai Dai clan can accept today is to hand over concubine Kun and then make due compensation to me, Jia Yan, and the powerful families behind me. Otherwise, things will get messy. Bigger. Jia Yan said calmly. It's like stating a fact. It doesn't seem like he's threatening the top forces in the galaxy. It seems like it's just a small matter that Gu Jingbu and Bo did. Jia Yanj, please don't go too far on this matter. Just when Jia Yan made threatening remarks, a figure suddenly appeared behind him and responded. Oh. Sure enough, he is protected by a master of the same level. He is indeed an ancient family. Not surprisingly, Jia Yan turned around and looked at the visitor. This person is not a being from the Cai Dai clan, but a figure that looks like a rhinoceros. However, the breath he exhales has a faint glow, as if it is the racial glory of the Cai Dai clan, which makes the rhinoceros there is a bit of holiness in the rough and ugly appearance. What is certain is that he has a close relationship with the Nai Dai clan. I just draw my sword to help when I see an injustice. Your Excellency Jia Yan, please don't equate me with the Cai Dai clan. If Your Excellency Jia Yan is willing to withdraw from the Kaidi clan's residence now, I would like to go out and have a few drinks with you. Let's not go home until we're drunk. How about selling me to someone to save face? Face. Jia Yan showed a very surprised expression and said, how much is face worth? Also, have you made something wrong? Do you think that just because you are of the same rank as me is enough for me to sell you face? Tisk tisk, if a master who is more than halfway to the pilgrim shows up, I will have to sell my face even if I don't sell it, but you. It seems that there is still a long way to go. Jia Yan. Don't be shameless. The person who claimed to be someone called 11 had a sinister look on his face. He is a domain lord with a good rank. But he is also a great master who has not long entered the lower level of domain lord. He is definitely a famous presence in this White Cave area, and many forces look up to him for everything. Even the Cai Dai clan here have paid tribute to him a lot of property in the hope that he will protect the Cai Dai clan. Previously, young Master N had already gone to his residence and presented him with the Cai Dai clan's secret medicine that he had longed for. That is, a Cai Dai clan's elixir that would allow the Rhino clan, a lower-ranking territory lord, to gain a little strength. This treasure medicine was made using the body of the Cai Dai clan, so its body bears the mark of the Cai Dai clan. Without reward for his merits, he naturally abided by his agreement with Mr. N and showed up to this battlefield while taking the precious medicine. I originally thought that he was just a person of the same rank who had just been promoted. With his reputation and strength, surrendering the opponent is not a big problem. Even if the two sides fight to a draw, it is enough to drive him away. After all, in the lower level of Domain Lord, there is also a distinction between superior and inferior. If the two sides are almost at the same level, the one who loses slightly will definitely choose to retreat. It is certain that they have cultivated to a level like theirs, which is almost semi-invincible. For those who cherish their lives, their immense hatred is not worth their hard work and lives. That's why the rhinoceros creature suddenly appeared. But, looking at it this way, Jia Yan doesn't seem to appreciate it at all. If you want to be shameless, it depends on your ability, your excellency. Jia Yan smiled and assumed a posture waiting for a fight. Then let me show you the difference between those who have just been promoted and the masters who have been at the lower level of the territory lord for a long time like me. The rhinoceros creature roared, stepped on all fours in the starry sky, and rushed towards Jia Yan. The sharp rhinoceros horn on its head represents extreme attack power. This rhinoceros creature uses a pure attack that is very rare among the lower levels of domain lords. Those who have reached the lower level of territory lord have generally developed many side abilities to assist their combat effectiveness. But this rhinoceros creature has gone all the way and is still using the most basic physical attacks so far. But any path, as long as you stick to it and follow it purely, will be powerful in a certain sense. You rhinoceros monster, you are a pure human being. It's a pity, you helped the evildoer. Jia Yan sneered. The positive and negative forces in the body burst out again. The subspace was blocked, or interfered with, making it difficult for him to enter the subspace, so Jia Yan simply fought outside with his peers who were good at attacking. It was just a chance to practice the strength that I had cultivated silently for decades. Especially the battle against the same level in the Milky Way was a long time ago. Jia Yan was worried about not knowing his position, and now he was just giving him a pillow when he was sleeping. This rhinoceros monster came to his door by himself. Let me see how powerful the so-called top masters in the core area are. Just because you are a junior whose subdimensional talent has been blocked. Even if I don't rely on the subspace, I'll still beat you to the point of doubting your life. Boom. The two finally come together. The world seemed to turn black for a moment. The explosion sound of mountains and tsunamis spread from the intersection of the two, whizzing past countless war fortresses, destroying those unmanned robots, and blowing away a large number of shady people living in the starry sky. I was blown away to the distance with my heart pounding. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 3277. After the strong wind blew, the two collided equally. Under the wind and lingering clouds, the rhinoceros monster looked calm and calm. He knew this was the result. Not trying my best. Looking at the giant mosquito creature that was too young, Eleven's face looked a little joking. Rhinoceros is an existence that has inherited the name of the race. As the pride of his clan, he was also a famous presence in the central star field of the Milky Way. After experiencing various tests and pressures, the territory lord level was led to the Taishang senior by his seniors, and finally became the top territory lord post-level existence that embarked on the heavenly road. There are rarely too many setbacks in life. But after becoming a domain-level master, I realized that the universe is not that simple. There are many things that only those who rely on talent and luck to reach the lower ranks of domain lords and become the strongest in their family will understand. He knew that a newly promoted territory lord to the lower level could not be an equal among others of the same level. There were too many ways to deal with you. After suffering several setbacks, he recognized the reality, restrained his innocence and arrogance, accepted the advice of several peers, and became his leader in this White Cave area. To put it bluntly, many forces are here. Protector of local interests. These are all conditional, and he doesn't have to suffer too much. Now I met another lower-level territory lord who was called a genius, and he was even more exaggerated than me. It was said that he was a peerless genius who reached the lower-level territory lord level in only about 100 years. He showed a little jealousy at first, because even he took thousands of years to rush to the back steps of the territory lord, and this one was more than 10 times faster than him. But after feeling jealous, he began to ridicule again. He was promoted 10 times in time, but he was still ridiculed by his peers and considered to be a person with an unstable foundation. Isn't this junior who spent only 1/10 of his time promoted to the lower level of territory lord the trash among the trash, commonly known as the fighter among the trash? I spent more than 1,000 years to reach the lower level of territory lord. I was still taught and taught by many seniors of the same level. From then on, I learned that there are many inside stories among the same level. Now, it's my turn to educate the newcomer, so that he can know that at the same level, even if you and I are both newly promoted, I can't kill you, but there are too many ways to make you uncomfortable. Then, let me let you experience the education from the seniors. This giant rhinoceros-like creature suddenly changed its expression. Rays of light burst out from his rhinoceros horns. Jia Yan uses yin-yang dao. He has studied it and it is a very powerful move, but it is nothing more than that. Everyone can understand the principle and it is very powerful. What about reality? The power on his rhinoceros horn is created by the so-called top compression method of cosmic energy. It is cultivated day and night, and has already exceeded the energy of ordinary cosmic powerhouses. So for theoretical things, no one knows what the other side's background is before the official fight. Puff. The two sped past. At the moment of intersection, Jia Yan caught a glimpse and saw the sarcastic smile of this strong rhinoceros. What are you laughing at? This man is sick. This piece of information flashed across the depths of his mind, and then his 2 feet crossed indifferently, creating a terrifying coercion created by the superposition of positive and negative forces. It has been a long time since I have experienced the pure force of positive and negative yin and yang dao against the enemy. But when I use it now, there is no sense of rawness at all. Because Jia Yan has never abandoned yin and yang dao. Yin and yang dao is the source and foundation of his strength. Abandoning it is like giving up his own avenue, which is no different from destroying the Great Wall. The two met again. A stormy explosion sounded, but this time it was different from the previous contact. The state of confrontation between the two was broken by the superimposed power of each other. You see, this is the difference between the same level with foundation and without foundation, Impossible. 11 was just trying to calmly watch Jia Yan being knocked away by his secret technique, but his heart suddenly sank. Something is wrong with the enemy's fighting power coming from the rhinoceros horn. Too heavy. Not good. I can't stand it at all. Rumble, rumble. The whole body of the rhinoceros monster seemed to be hit by irresistible waves, and was knocked away by the howling wind. Cracks suddenly appeared in the rhinoceros horns, and his body felt some indescribable force that made him breathless. What a terrifying power. Impossible. It's obvious that I was still inseparable from it just now. He is the first to enter the lower realm of Domain Lord. How can he have such power? He must have used some kind of secret treasure. The rhinoceros monster looked extremely sinister. After flying back for thousands of kilometers, he felt his rhino horn. He felt that there were serious cracks in the rhinoceros horn. Maybe he would break it completely if he used the force of the previous blow next time. For their clan, rhinoceros horn is the most advanced weapon, and it is a treasure that intersects lives. If it breaks, it will be as good as killing him. Although a rhinoceros who has reached the post-territorial level of a territory lord has broken off the rhinoceros horn that he was born with, there must be several ways to repair it. But if something he was born with is lost, even if it can be repaired in the future, it will definitely affect his combat effectiveness. The repair time will also be extremely long. It's totally not worthwhile to lose money here. Although 11 felt that Jia Yan must have used some kind of shady secret treasure, he was too shocked to dare to ask any more questions. I can't bear one blow. My friend of the same level, your strength really disappoints me. So, do you want to continue? The rhino monster looked around with a livid expression. I saw that the entire entrance of the Cai clan was beaten to pieces by 2 confrontations between the two. Even young Master Nan was blown away by the force, his nose was bruised and his face was swollen, and he lost his cool demeanor. His Excellency Jia Yan's methods are indeed very clever. I have learned from you. I will see you next time. The rhinoceros monster is just his duty. After fighting like this, it can be said that he is fully worthy of his responsibility. If he continues to risk his life, he may not only lose his life, but also not get more compensation from the Cai clan. It's better to just retreat. Jia Yan has no grudges against him, and he will probably not cause trouble again in the future. Way to go, rhinoceros friend. Jia Yan greeted him uncertainly, but no one could tell the attitude in his tone. If you don't know the joys and sorrows, you can't be sure of his attitude. You might not stay any longer, or if you get too close, you might be treated as an enemy again. 11, who had suffered a loss, completely understood that he was no match for this young junior. His temper has long been smoothed away, and he is no longer as stubborn as he was when he competed with the masters and seniors, and he still has to compete for life and death. He just couldn't figure it out. It was obvious that he was a newcomer that he didn't like very much. It was obvious that he just wanted to recreate the scene where he was taught by several seniors of the same level in turn when he was first promoted to the lower level of Territory Lord. Why can't he pretend to be this cool when it's his turn? Humph, I don't need to touch Jia Yan. If he continues like this, he will definitely attract the attention of his stronger seniors at the same level. It will then be up to him whether he can withstand the care of his seniors. With pointing, he thought with malice in his heart. But his figure didn't stop for a moment, galloping away from this place. Ever since he knew that he was no match for Jia Yan, he understood that it was not advisable to stay here for a long time. Every strong person understands the principle that a gentleman should not stand behind a dangerous wall. Especially at their level, even if they are really killed by someone of their own level, I am afraid it will be difficult for someone of their own level to jump out and avenge them. At most, it's a verbal condemnation or something like that. As for the stronger masters at the lower levels of the galaxy, they are even more mythical. Even the top masters he sits on the edge of the black hole area have never seen the true face of even one of the top masters. It is even less likely that these experts will come forward for him. So he wisely stopped disturbing Jia Yan's behavior. This, lost. In the ruins not far from the battle zone, Mr. Nan climbed up from the debris of various fortresses and robots. When he took a look, he felt that the world was spinning and he was completely in disbelief. The senior whom I had tried so hard to invite actually lost. Is Jia Yan really that powerful? Or is it that senior 11, whom he has deliberately befriended for decades in the White Cave area and has given generous gifts to him every year, looks like a silver pewter spearhead? There's no need to pretend to be insane, Mr. N. Why don't we have a good chat now? Do you want to be friends with Concubine Kun? Mr. N felt that his heartbeat almost stopped suddenly. It turned out that when he was watching the battlefield, Jia Yan's majestic giant mosquito that was more than 60 kilometers long suddenly appeared behind him. Sir, Senior Jia Yan, are you really going to kill all our Kaidi clan and become our enemies? He turned back bitterly and said to Jia Yan with a wry smile as if he was admitting defeat. No, no, no. Jia Yan shook his head and said, I don't know if you really don't understand, or if you are just pretending not to understand. This matter belongs to concubine Kun and is plotting against me. I don't know about it either. Do you, the Kaidi clan, play a role in this? But I have to seriously doubt you, especially in this situation. If you still prevent me from pursuing the truth, then I have more reason to believe that you are going to wait. The plot is against me. Tell me, what choice did you make? Recommended. Yeguo reading and chasing books is really useful. Download it here, you can try it soon. Mr. N felt that he had countless words and excuses, but when he spoke, he saw Jia Yan's eyes with thousands of compound eyes, and felt a sudden chill all over his body. He subconsciously couldn't continue. To muddy the waters. Senior, I am willing to take you to see Kun Mei, but Kun Mei may have left now. Leaved? Jia Yan's voice paused and he continued to ask seriously, do you know that if you give me wrong information again, the matter will become more serious, and it may turn into a real war between the nobles and me? The current situation is that the two sides are still in a short-term hostility due to only one junior. The matter can be big or small, as long as both parties have the determination to solve the problem, it will be easy to settle the matter. However, Cai refuses to negotiate or make concessions, which may worsen the situation. Jia Yan can't get angry even if he doesn't want to, otherwise the forces and experts in the entire galaxy will look down on him. This has nothing to do with being clever, but a matter of righteousness, and even he cannot be exempted from it. Otherwise, the future Orion Armed Forces and Trade Zone-related forces may be ostracized and ridiculed by all forces in the galaxy. This was something he didn't want to see. That's why he became serious. If the other party doesn't answer well, then it's the moment when the two major forces will truly confront each other. Sorry, Senior, I didn't hide anything. In fact, I let Kunmei enter the hinterland of the Beidong area long before I learned that Senior might be coming. You may not know that in that hinterland, there are a white hole space folding and jumping technology jointly created by the top 10 white hole forces can only accommodate one creature at a time and consumes a certain amount of white hole energy. The entrant will be sent to a relatively accurate location. So, you arranged for concubine Kun to enter there and teleport away? Jia Yan asked with a not-so-good expression. Under his aggressive interrogation, Mr. N couldn't help but dare not look at Jia Yan. He slightly turned his eyes away and looked in other directions and said, yes, so Senior, this matter has nothing to do with this clan's residence. It's not big. If you want to continue to arrest Kunmei, I can announce on behalf of my clan that I will not intervene in this matter from now on. Whether Kunmei has the ability to escape from the hands of her predecessors, the Kaidi clan, they will no longer care about it, and because of the psychological damage suffered by the seniors in this incident, this clan is willing to hand over appropriate compensation. Do you think this can be done? He said this without any problem. Jia Yan gained a certain amount of face, and although the Cai clan was invaded and suffered a huge loss of face, it actually showed that they once again resisted a person without the presence of their peers. The offensive of the Domain Lord's lower level can be regarded as gaining a certain reputation value. As for Jia Yan, it was not a failure. His reputation was so high that even Rhinoceros, the core protector of the White Hole region, was driven away, indicating that his strength will be recognized by the collective recognition of the Milky Way Central Star region after today. And the so-called compensation may be something better. Of course, these require the follow-up personnel of both parties to disagree with each other on the cards. Jia Yan believes that with his own deterrence, even if his own people have no experience, and it's impossible to eat too much. In this way, it can be said that the Cai family slightly lost and Jia Yan slightly won. But can he accept it? After all, the set task, to capture concubine Kun, was not achieved. If this is the case. Just as Jia Yan was about to speak, I heard Chen Yajin coming to kill the Cai Dai clan outside the gate. Shut up for now. An overwhelming sound rang out, shocking the entire starry sky. The color of the sky and the earth changed, the wind and clouds rolled, just like those words. A large amount of energy gathered here, causing smoke and dust to billow, and the endless momentum pressed on Jia Yan and Mr. Nan who were present. Plop. Mr. N, who was just about to speak, felt that the strength in his body suddenly increased greatly, and his complexion turned livid, but at the same time, he was overjoyed deep in his heart. Could it be that some seniors, or masters of the clan, knew the news about this place and came to help? Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 3278. Well. Jia Yan's eyes moved slightly, looking at the visitor. As expected, it is indeed the central star region of the Milky Way, and there are endless high-level domain lords. There are people who came here halfway. You Cai Dai clan really have a lot of friends. Your Excellency Jia Yan, don't be like this. I have little to do with the Cai Dai clan. I have something to discuss with you at this time. The visitor was talking loudly as he arrived, not far from Jia Yan. It's really upright, like a long stick. Its slender body is 200 kilometers high and its width is only about 20 kilometers. If Jia Yan hadn't seen countless extremely huge single beings in the other world, he might have been shocked at this time. This is the longest single living thing he has seen in the galaxy. Is something wrong? If you didn't come here earlier, you would come here later. Come here when I enter the Cai Dai clan's residence. Your Excellency is really good at seizing the time. Jia Yan chuckled, the meaning of his words self-evident. The two sides looked at each other and said nothing. To put it bluntly, this person must have come here to save the Cai Dai clan. Well, since you want to take care of this matter, why not draw a clear line? I and the Kaidi clan are destined to fight this matter to the end. Please tell me your bottom line. Jia Yan showed no fear. Although this person's appearance was extremely impressive, his overwhelming momentum was much stronger than what he had imagined for a top player. His apparent strength is probably much greater than Jia Yan's. But is he afraid? Without fear. Ha ha ha, Your Excellency Jia Yan, your tone is really loud. The other party stood up, feeling much larger than before. He knew Jia Yan, but Jia Yan had no idea about this person's identity. Not saying whether this person is a hidden old monster, I just say that Jia Yan does not have enough specific information about the Milky Way. There is probably a high chance that he will show up at a high-end level, but he has not collected the information before. May I ask your name? Do you really want to take care of this matter? Jia Yan asked with a very solemn attitude. When you ask this question, it seems a bit serious. You know, if you just come to inquire, you may not know that there will be opportunities for cooperation in the future. But if he is still determined to take care of this matter after asking this question, it means that the other party really wants to fight against Jia Yan, and he is half an enemy. If the fight is more intense, it is not an exaggeration to say that he is an enemy. It's not a question of whether to care or not, but this matter is against justice. I'm here to seek justice. A good judge of justice. It seems that you really don't care about the cause of the matter. Jia Yan became alert, and a certain idea emerged in his mind. This guy might have something to do with Concubine Kun. He didn't even say his name or the force he belonged to, indicating that he didn't want to be directly identified by Jia Yan. But it doesn't matter, such a person cannot appear out of thin air. You can get information about him by asking at high-end places in the central region of the galaxy. The two exchanged pleasantries while looking at each other. If it weren't for the starry sky beneath their feet, where countless fortress ruins and the corpses of the colorful butterfly clan lay, they might have been misunderstood by others as talking to old friends. The peace of mind did not last long. Just after the young master on the other side endured the hidden injuries from the previous impact and flew backwards for thousands of kilometers, the conversation between the two stopped abruptly. It seems that you are really going to have to fight before you choose to retreat. Haha, why didn't His Excellency Jia Yan retreat? I believe that if we fight, you will definitely retreat. Jia Yan took a deep breath. He stretched out his foot unceremoniously, and there were endless positive and negative forces overlapping on one foot. At the same time, some mysterious formation power spread in the starry sky. The body suddenly turned into a deep blue color. This is the ultimate fighting posture that Jia Yan has developed in recent decades. With the blessing of the state, his combat power has reached the top of the 50th level of Tianlu. The subspace is blocked. But do you think that the subspace can be blocked casually? Unless you are gods. Jia Yan looked at Mr. N, who was retreating sarcastically. At the senior domain lord level, I still know too little about the lower levels of domain lords. Especially for a late-level subspace talented domain master like him, very little is known about him. If they knew that after reaching the subspace ability of Jia Yan, even the subspace without subspace could tear apart an area, they might not be so naive as to think that the first to sixth floors of this area could be destroyed. The entire subspace is blocked to prevent Jia Yan from using subspace abilities. Unfortunately, the other party doesn't understand. Poof. The subspace cracked, and Jia Yan successfully entered the subspace under the gaze of the long stick creature. Oh! Your Excellency Jia Yan, do you think that with the current state and subspace ability, you can deal with the old man? Maybe it's possible, maybe it's not, but how will you know if you don't try? Jia Yan's voice came from inside the subspace. Recommended, Yeguo reading and chasing books is really useful. Download it here, you can try it soon. Because the ordinary subspace field was blocked, Jia Yan was very magical. Entering the subspace, he directly came to the depth of the six-dimensional subspace as if teleporting. The attack power of ordinary stars against this place will be weakened countless times. But for the lower-level domain lords, it has almost no impact. The long stick creature was obviously not surprised that Jia Yan could still use subdimensional abilities. Because he is probably also a master at Jia Yan's level, or even above. The whole mood was calm and composed, which caused the young man on the other side who retreated to be affected. So, is it that senior? But, does our Cai Dai clan have anything to do with this senior? It doesn't seem right. Why would he take action? And he came so timely. Mr. N was confused for a while. He didn't remember that he invited the senior. Even in the past history of this person and the Nai Dai clan, he didn't have much good relationship. So why? He couldn't understand. I saw the long stick creature split an equally slender arm from its long stick-like body. With a flick of the finger, a halo appeared around his body. The Tao energy of the inner world is extremely profound. Although I have never been there, in the central star field of the Milky Way, the strong people have more or less practiced some Tao power after walking to the heavenly road. Jia Yan, I heard that you have been in the other world for a long time, and you must have a more comprehensive grasp of Dao power than me. Why don't you taste it and see if there is any gap between my humble Dao power skills and those in the other world? He said calmly. Deep in the subspace, Jia Yan also adjusted his physical condition. This guy is different from the rhinoceros just now. He is not at the same level at all. On the surface, he is not as good as the opponent. It can be said that he has been promoted to the lower level of Domain Lord for so long, and he is the strongest person of the same level in the galaxy. Your Excellency, there is something really special about your dojo skills. I took a look at it and found that it seems to be the wood attribute of the other world. Your body should be a wood attribute life form on a certain planet. It is indeed a wood attribute. The wood attribute race in this world is also an extremely large and terrifying group. Although your skills are different from theirs, you have found a different approach. It can be said that both sides have their own merits. Jia Yan Gujing Buobo's voice sounded. At the same time, his feet poked out of subspace. This is called throwing stones to ask for directions. It seemed to be an attack from the front, but behind the long stick creature, there was another formation of blue power, hitting the opponent's back hard. Oh! Your Excellency, Jia Yan is still playing this trick. The opponent did not change his expression, blocking Jia Yan's thrusting foot with one arm. In front of the formation power behind him, large illusory tree leaves suddenly opened, blocking the formation power. That's it? Jia Yan retreated into the subspace, and the first confrontation between the two sides ended in a seemingly even tie. He understood something. The opponent's strength is indeed extraordinary. Moreover, unlike what Jia Yan had perceived before, he actually used illusory power as his main fighting method. Those leaves, I'm afraid they are real. Your Excellency actually looks like a real tree. In the end, through some method, you absorbed the leaves and branches into your body? No, it should have been hidden into the illusion in some way. In the illusionary space? My dear, you are really bold. You have studied the techniques of the masters of the other world to this extent, and developed such similar moves? Jia Yan said, with a hint of surprise in his eyes. You know, this is a skill that can only be mastered by the top experts in the world. In the illusionary space, there is no guru-level being that Jia Yan has encountered who cannot use it, and each of them uses it very delicately. Even if Jia Yan can defeat these guru-level experts, their illusions will bring some trouble to Jia Yan every time. Therefore, this long stick master actually used this similar technique, and imitated it so vividly that it looked like he had improved it into the cosmic energy version. This was indeed quite surprising to Jia Yan. After all, combining the two's training and fighting methods is what Jia Yan has been doing. It's a pity that the other party can't answer Jia Yan's questions. And the way the two sides go is also different. This long stick-shaped creature has no so-called Dao power inside its body, and the traces of Dao power cultivation on Jia Yan's body are extremely obvious. Therefore, if Jia Yan reaches a certain level of dual cultivation in the future, it is possible to truly open up the actual illusion space, but the other party definitely does not have this ability. Therefore, the paths of both parties may seem similar, but they are completely impossible to be the same. Your Excellency Jia Yan, what I said now is still effective. If you are willing to reach a reconciliation with the Cai Dai clan, you might as well stop. Impossible. It is absolutely impossible for Jia Yan to choose to stop the confrontation after seeing that the opponent's strength is a bit tricky when he has reached this point. Otherwise, a top player who has lost face will be no different from losing to the outside world, and the subsequent impact will be in all aspects. It is said that one move can affect the whole body. The existences of the late domain lords in the galaxy are becoming more and more tired. It is not without reason. Their every move can change too many things. It's not that Jia Yan doesn't want to change the matter, but he is weak and has no choice but to follow the trend. He cannot be defeated, and he cannot even choose to fight halfway. It's either a true tie or a defeat. Puff. Once again, deep in the subspace, a foot impact of positive and negative forces emerged. The sharp part of this foot is no different from the needlepoint used by people on Earth. The point is sharp and small, but it can be carried for dozens of kilometers on it. The long legs can be said to be both sharp and fast. Those who are hit by its attacks will probably suffer a lot of damage. Ding! The opponent's branch arm stretched out, just enough to resist the toe of the attack, but the positive and negative forces burst out, piercing his entire branch arm for about 10 kilometers, almost piercing it. Well, it is indeed the famous yin and yang Dao. The explosive power released is simply earth-shattering. On the humanistic expression of the stick-shaped strongman, his brows wrinkled slightly. With a shake of his arm, Jia Yan's feet were automatically released from his branch arm. And his illusory arm actually recovered as before after being detached from Jia Yan's foot, as if he had not been injured. Jia Yan understood that the opponent's arm seemed to be solid, but it was not a real solid body at all, so repairing it was just a matter of thought. Of course, since it is not physical, it is the opponent's spiritual power that resists his attack. So it seems like it doesn't cause any harm, but it does still have an effect. It's just that this effect won't have much impact at all before the opponent's mental energy is exhausted. Let's see how you still pretend to be a ghost. Jia Yan released the overwhelming power of the formation from the depths of subspace without any scruples. There was an unexpected look on the other side's eyebrows again. After that, he was not allowed to move. The overwhelming blue light group surrounded the man and smashed his head and face without leaving any gaps. Boom 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 boom. The sound of explosions is endless, and even the sound waves of explosions are rhythmic. From the sound, it is known that the combination of this formation and the fighting method must be the optimal fighting method obtained by special personnel through calculation and research. It was Adish's handiwork. Find the book garden. The fight between the two sides was electric and breathless. Even Mr. N, who was watching from a distance, couldn't help but step back, looking dumbfounded. Only then did he realize how much he, the genius of the Kaidi clan who claimed to have an extraordinary destiny, was watching the sky from the bottom of a well. It was no wonder that when Jia Yan fought with him just now, he refused to release even a trace of his true strength. In fact, the gap between the two sides is simply too large to be measured. Alas, I still want to fight against a lower-level territory lord. It's completely self-humiliating. No, Mr. N, you still have some strength, but this Jia Yan really surpasses you by a lot even among the lower ranks of domain lords. His strength is extremely tyrannical. Mr. N's self-pity was interrupted by a familiar voice. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 3279. He looked back and saw that the rhinoceros who had just been beaten away by Jia Yan had returned to his place of origin at some point and came to Mr. N's side quietly. Senior 11, why are you back? You're not fleeing? Hey, even though I did run away, I'm not someone who wouldn't dare to come back after hearing the noise. Jia Yan is not at such a level of intimidation. This junior didn't say that. Mr. N quickly restrained his arrogance and became humble in his words. You must know that the most famous thing about Senior 11 in this White Cave area is that he attaches great importance to reputation. If any junior speaks rudely to him, there has been an incident where Senior 11 immediately killed the rude person in front of everyone. Although Mr. N once proudly thought that he was unlikely to be killed, and his strength would not allow him to be killed instantly, but after seeing the signs of being easily defeated by Jia Yan just now, he recognized himself clearly and started to fight. Your own ultimate attack will be beaten by the Domain Master's lower-level masters. Although Senior 11 was also held down and beaten by Jia Yan, it didn't mean that he could ignore his level of combat power. Boom! Another earth-shattering sound came, forcing Mr. N to retreat continuously. These two are so strong, I really think I am no match for them. While he was talking, the sound of battle roared in the center of the battle circle. The Rhinoceros Master put down his communication with Mr. N and sighed. Senior 11, in your opinion, how will this battle be won? I don't understand. If you look at it from the superficial level, then Jia Yan will definitely lose. But this guy deserves to be called a genius. Under the current battle situation, his methods are endless. It's so unexpected. I can't believe it. Have you really only practiced for more than 100 years? The rhinoceros showed an expression that was unique to people of all time, and also had a little loneliness. Because I had enjoyed the reputation of genius and high potential for a long time, but now I saw Jia Yan, I realized that I was nothing compared to him. "Who is that senior, young master?" and asked cautiously. 11's expression changed slightly, and he looked at this junior who had the opportunity to enter the same class with a half smile and said, "Don't you know his identity? Even you don't know, how can this old immortal give up seclusion? Run out to save your life." Mr. N's expression didn't look like he was pretending to be surprised and said, "This junior really doesn't know." "You really don't know?" 11 was stunned for a moment, looking at the battlefield weirdly, then silently thinking about something. Seeing his appearance like this, Mr. N couldn't find it easy to ask questions even though his mind was full of questions. He could only wait silently for the outcome of the battle. "Call out." In the center of the fighting circle, Jia Yan changed his tactics. "I have to say, Your Excellency, you are truly the most difficult enemy I have ever seen." Jia Yan stabbed the opponent's defenseless head with one foot, but saw a branch suddenly stretched out from nowhere, blocking his foot. The formation circles around him that assisted in the attack were also blocked by endless branches. It's really like the point of a needle is facing each other, and neither side can do anything to the other. Even so, the other party was slightly surprised. "Your Excellency," Jia Yan only said, "that I am old and difficult to deal with." "I really can only praise the strength of Your Excellency, Jia Yan. You are the only person I have seen in my life who is weaker than me, but you can fight with me like this. You can fight with me like this if you have a fight, it's not in vain for me to come all the way." "Then thank you very much for your compliment." Jia Yan chuckled lightly. The fight between the two had not yet reached the level of a formal quarrel. It was only a little better than the trial that ended at the point. Jia Yan still has all kinds of trump cards of his own, and he believes that the opponent must also have many hidden qualities that he has not yet used. To put it bluntly, neither side will use their trump cards until there is deep hatred. This long-stick creature just came to stop Jia Yan from bloodbathing the Cai Dai clan. Jia Yan just wanted to show face by invading the Cai Dai clan's residence. If the two sides continue to fight, it will take at least a while before the hostility of the other party is determined before the actual fight begins. There has to be a process in the middle. Otherwise, if one has reached this level of strength and goes all out for no reason, it will only allow others to take advantage. For example, the rhinoceros creature is watching eagerly from the side. Although Jia Yan looks down on his strength at all, he is also a real master of the late domain masters. How can he really be underestimated? "Your Excellency, you should know that I, who have just arrived, need to win against the colorful butterfly clan, so if we escalate the battle, I am afraid that something will happen to you and me. Why don't you give me a favor for the time being? If you leave, go, I will definitely repay this kindness when I have the opportunity in the future." In other words, is Your Excellency Jia Yan willing to accept Lao Chan's favor? Yes, you can understand it this way, but it is impossible for me to do anything too difficult to repay this kindness. It's easy to say. I just need Your Excellency Jia Yan to take me to the other world. If you are willing, I am willing to withdraw from today's fight. Make a deal. The electric fight between the two has now reached a fever pitch, and it will definitely escalate if it continues. After a few words of conspiracy, the long stick-shaped being stepped back and locked its gaze on Jia Yan. But Jia Yan did not pursue him, he just met his eyes and both parties nodded slightly. Your Excellency Jia Yan is worthy of being the top genius that has never appeared in our galaxy in 100,000 years. I think I can't distinguish between you and me, so I'll stop here. I hope you can treat the Cai Dai clan kindly. I have done my best to be kind and righteous. Good go, senior. Since the other party was selling his face, Jia Yan was happy to give the other party face. He clasped his fists with his front feet and called the other party senior. Anyway, for him, almost anyone of the same level he encounters can be called a senior, and he is guaranteed not to call him wrong. Oh, not almost, but definitely. They have talked about geniuses that have never appeared in 100,000 years. Recently, I have not heard of any powerful genius who has reached the lower level of territory lord within 100 years. So Jia Yan is definitely right when he meets a person of the same level and calls him senior. Haha, the days are long, I hope there will be a day when we meet again. There was something in the long stick creature's words as he left. Jia Yan immediately understood that the other party reminded Jia Yan not to forget his agreement with Jia Yan in the future. If we don't carry out the agreement with him, it will definitely be a real war. Judging from the battle just now, if we really want to take him down, it will be difficult even if we use all our methods. Jia Yan sighed in his heart. This Milky Way central star territory is indeed the cream of the crop in the Milky Way. Within a short period of time, we have bumped into several lower-ranking territory lords. How's it going? Mr. Kishi, are you satisfied with my battle performance just now? Jia Yan looked back at the edge of the battlefield. Mr. N was stared at and hesitated for a moment. He glanced to the side as if asking for help, but was shocked to find that the senior rhino who was standing next to him just now had disappeared without a trace. This old guy, he must be a rat, was swept away by Jia Yan's cat and ran away. Senior, I'm satisfied, satisfied. But Senior Jia Yan, you have to know that you just forgot about it. Now, if you go to the White Cave teleportation array, you might have already shut down the core energy of the teleportation array. It's useless to go over it anymore, I can't blame you, the time has really gone too long. Don't worry, I don't blame you, just show me now. Okay, please come with me. Jia Yan's politeness made the other party feel inexplicably fond of him, and Luo generously suppressed his worries and took Jia Yan to the depths of the Cai Dai clan's residence. Resistance is futile anyway. The two masters at the lower level of the territory lord were all repelled by Jia Yan without any injuries, and Jia Yan was not injured at all. It is obvious that this powerful master at the lower level of the territory lord still has a lot of fighting power to display. Mr. N is the head. Only when you have cramps will you continue to resist. Calmly shaking his head at the many Cai Dai clan members who were coming from afar, Mr. N secretly signaled to them not to approach. He could only lead Jia Yan forward, while the other disciples were kept away from the two of them. You, a strong member of the Kaidi clan, do have some responsibilities and achievements. I just want to ask, why do you like concubine Kun? Jia Yan observed for a moment and said casually as if chatting. You. Mr. N was a little annoyed when he saw that his state of mind was being questioned, but he knew that he was definitely no match for Jia Yan, so he couldn't help but stop his outburst and said, Kunmei is graceful and beautiful, and she is also extremely cultivated. Why do I look down on a strong woman with a high level of strength? Besides, even if it weren't for me, there are so many masters behind me. Even the lower ranks of domain lords might be able to fall in love with her. Do you think that in this world? Are there only that many female masters? Jia Yan was silent for a while, then stretched out his feet and scratched his head. Sorry, it's still hard for me to understand your thoughts. Even if you are not concubine Kun, there are many female creatures with stunning appearances. If you can set the standard below the star level, you may have more choices than her in appearance. There are many women with conditions and even personality conditions that are countless times better, so why do they have to hang themselves from a tree? You, Jia Yanj, if I didn't know that you are a young and powerful person, I would regard your words as a provocation to me. Who doesn't know that a strong female person above the star level, only the offspring born will have a greater chance of inheriting the strength and talent of their parents, and may even give birth to powerful geniuses that surpass their parents? You ask, why don't we, territory lords, or even middle and lower level territory lords, pursue stars? Strong women above the level? Do you have to find those women who are destined to only give birth to offspring that are inferior to themselves? Jia Yan was asked again. He thought of his own heir. For example, Jia Rong, Jia Makiao, not to mention Jia 11 and other descendants of the next generation. These descendants are all far behind me. Even if Jia Makiao is the most valued by Jia Yan and thinks she has a chance to enter the territory lord level, the opportunity is just like the illusory myth, extremely inferior. She can only enter the stellar level in her lifetime. Future generations will have almost no chance of reaching the stellar level. Perhaps relying on Jia Yan's unique formation talent and formation combat skills, some of the future generations might be able to forcibly upgrade their strength to a star level, but that would still not be a serious star level. If I were given one more chance, and I knew that if I chose a stellar woman, my descendants would be born with talents equal to my own, would I still choose Satsuma Temple? Jia Yan was a little confused for a moment. Maybe, I will choose someone better than Satsuma-do. After all, now that he has come to this day, he has found that his family cannot be of much help to him, but instead requires a lot of effort on his part to maintain it. If there is a junior with great talent, maybe after a few hundred years of training, he will have someone who can help him. Instead of being like this now, he is so powerful that he usually doesn't even talk to family members. Maybe when we talk about cultivation, it feels more and more like a burden. So Jia Yan suddenly understood what the other party said. Your Excellency Jia Yan, I'm afraid you agree with me in your heart. Well, I don't want to talk to you more about this matter. After all, choosing a mate depends on the individual. In short, I want Kun Mei, and even talk to her about it. Well, next time if she terminates her marriage to Green Mountain, she will choose me. If you want to anger me for this, you can get rid of me. Otherwise, if I grow to the lower level of territory lord one day, maybe I will find an opportunity to take revenge today. Jia Yan was surprised that this young and powerful man from the Cai clan dared to speak so bluntly. You are brave, aren't you afraid that I will really kill you? Although there will definitely be some trouble in the future, you are right, you are a potential danger in the future, and getting rid of you is really a good choice. The opponent's face turned pale for a moment, and then his body became colorful again. Your Excellency Jia Yan, you can and try to kill me. I also believe that although my family will definitely attack you with strong words, it will be difficult for you to take any more serious measures against you. If you take more actions, because of your strength, I am afraid even the Cai clan will be unable to do anything, so you will not have any trouble afterwards. Want to provoke me into killing you? Jia Yan shook his head. Every injustice has its owner, and every debt has its owner. Today you are just loyal to the family's defense policy, but I also advise you not to be obsessed with concubine Kun anymore. If this woman has anything to do with my recent experiences, I am determined not to live long. Of course, if you intend to help me take revenge, you can come to me for revenge when you are promoted to the lower level of territory lord. By the way, you can't come just after you are promoted. With my strength, I've seen it too, you're here just after your promotion, don't blame me for killing you directly. Okay, I understand. Thank you Jia Yanj for your advice, I will remember every word you said today. Well, it's best to remember it clearly for me. Especially remember, don't come looking for me if you don't have a certain level of strength. But I believe you will understand this when you reach the lower level of territory lord, because when you arrive, only then will you know what the strength I showed just now represents. WAP. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 3280. Jia Yan's reaction to his words put a lot of pressure on Mr. N, and it took him a while to recover. The shuttle between the two still took a lot of time. We did not go through any subspace, but followed the unique space-folding passage of the Cai clan. The journey was less than half a light year and took about 3 to 5 days, which was still fast. However, along the way, the two sides did not maintain a state of hostility. Because they were not at the same level at all, Jia Yan's great kindness spared Mr. N's life, and also spared the lives of many residents of the Kaidi clan. This alone made Mr. N unable to get angry. And he also knew that Jia Yan was indeed plotted by concubine Kun. If it were him, he would definitely get to the bottom of it and find out the real murderer. Finally this day, they rushed to the so-called teleportation array where the Cai clan was stationed. Outside the majestic palace, the Cai clan members were waiting in full formation. They obviously belong to a unique force, and they wear the same style of clothing, and they are vaguely ostracized and hostile not only to Jia Yan, but also to the young master from the other side. I wonder why Senior Kishi led this person to come to my transfer hall. Seeing this appearance, Jia Yan suddenly showed a look of understanding. It is normal that there are factions and factions within any force. The so-called teleportation hall should be the forces assembled by the Kaidi clan relying on the teleportation formation. This has nothing to do with him, Jia Yan. Of course, Jia Yan will also pay attention to whether they are deliberately acting for him and then use some conspiracy. Mr. N's reaction is worth pondering. Everyone, please stop making trouble in front of Your Excellency Jia Yan. Now Senior Jia Yan wants to borrow the teleportation array. If you continue to make unreasonable troubles, you will definitely be included in the family meeting by me. Okay, Senior, this family's teleportation array has been created and maintained by the teleportation palace for tens of thousands of years. Countless palace elites have spent their essence and blood to create and maintain it. Not long ago, a group of family members have used it and want to open it again. It will take a lot of resources and costs. If you want to enter, please pay our fees first. Oh? Do you still need me to pay? Don't you know who I am? Of course I know, but this matter is a rule and cannot be changed. Even the head of the family must bear the same expenses when he comes. Jia Yan was surprised. This group of so-called teleportation palace people actually dared to ask for royalties after knowing that he was attacking the Cai clan's resident. This was too unwise. Aren't they afraid that they would be angered and kill everyone present? Can't. Although it seems that there are many strong people in this so-called teleportation layer, the strongest ones are only the first-level domain lords. Jia Yan can kill them without even using half of their feet. If you want to die, please do it outside the station. Otherwise, if you bring the people stationed in the Mediterranean, you will not be able to make up for this responsibility even if you die thousands of times. Give it to me. Senior Kishi, this can never be done. Please ask this senior to pay. Jia Yanpin noticed that these guys were evading the important and taking the easy, and their words were a bit flustered. He couldn't help but squint his giant mosquito compound eyes. He said unhurriedly, "Everyone, how much does it cost? I don't have enough money. Anyway, it will be added to the compensation required from the nobles in the future, and it will not be paid by me." Mr. N wanted to roll his eyes. A grand benefit of 100 million Galaxy Central Star Coins. The Galaxy Central Star Coin is a currency that is popular in most areas of the Galaxy Central region. It is issued by top families in the Galaxy Central Star region such as the Cai clan. With the endorsement of these families, the credit rating of the currency is extremely high, so it is loved by a large number of businesses and individuals. Only 100 million. This value is a bit high. If you really want to take it seriously, it is more than enough to buy a living planet. Jia Yan was able to figure it out, but he also laughed angrily at the big mouths of these guys. Very good. I never bring such a large amount of money with me when I go out. Why don't I pay it on credit first, and then pay it off to you when I have more money in the future? How about you? Can you let me in? I'm afraid not. Senior came to make trouble in our clan's camp. What if we use this as an excuse to refuse to pay back the money in the future? So I ask Senior to settle the matter on the spot. Jia Yan unceremoniously released a wave of brainwave power, and the star-level transmission hall master was shot out like a cannonball, and fell into the starry sky without knowing whether he was alive or dead. Senior, you. Mr. N was at his side, and it was too late to rescue him, so he could only look at Jia Yan with an expression of grievance and hatred. Mr. N, for some things, it's better not to treat other people as fools. If you continue to play tricks, do you believe that I will really wipe out your white cave area from this area? Jia Yan's cold words made Liza feel chilly all over. I just know I can't hide it from Senior, that's all. Come with me. Mr. N laughed bitterly, glanced at the people in the teleportation hall around him, and then flew away leading the way. Several members of the Cai clan in the teleportation hall wanted to get closer, but Master N stopped them with his eyes. It was indeed a trap. I don't want the other to happen. As you know, I have been in this world for a long time and have seen the teleportation array many times. If something goes wrong with the teleportation array again, it will not be tolerated by me. This is good. Mr. N gritted his teeth and responded. He really believed that Jia Yan had such great magical powers. Because Jia Yan did stay in the other world for a very long time, and according to reliable information, Jia Yan did use a lot of teleportation arrays in the other world to trick him, and his future was uncertain. After some coercion and inducement, Jia Yan was not completely relieved, but he generally believed that this group of weak Cai clan members would not dare to do any more tricks. Who? The teleportation array in the White Cave area was so exquisitely constructed that even Jia Yan, who was used to seeing teleporters in the other world, was a little impressed. Senior, the energy system in our galaxy comes from the cosmic power, which is different from the other world. We have thought of countless ways to find the place where the cosmic power is most suitable for the formation. If you need any advice, please don't hesitate to teach me. Those workers in the teleportation hall really have the spirit of researchers. They were tense just now. Seeing Jia Yan's extremely high attainments in the teleportation array, they couldn't help but want to get something out of Jia Yan's mouth. None of them have seen the real formation in the other world, and now they have lost the reference object for their research, so the progress is very slow. Sorry, I am not a professional, but I have seen a lot in the other world. You can tell at a glance that these formations are slightly different from the real teleportation formations in the other world, but the success of both parties depends on the specific situation. You can only express your opinions after using it, so you have to do a better job in this time travel, so that I can comment on it later. That's natural. Even if they want to use petty tactics, they can't speak out now. In short, Jia Yan already believed most of it after seeing the opponent's teleportation array. In a hurry, if they still had the ability to build a fake teleportation array, Jia Yan would admit that he had suffered a loss. If the strategy was that strong, the Nai clan would have escaped from the declining power list long ago. Step into a circle among the stars. The formation soon exuded bursts of mysterious aura under the guidance of a large number of cosmic energy operators. Jia Yan felt the atmosphere. What a strange energy. It is different from the power of the universe. It is also different from the power of my formation. It is far from the yin and yang dao. It seems that there are indeed capable people in the galaxy who can modify a power that has never been heard of. To such an extent, and the utilization rate is not low, it is said that millions of years ago, or even tens of millions of years ago, the Milky Way was an era when all kinds of methods existed. In addition to the cosmic power practiced by the majority of masters now, there are countless ways to practice and techniques to practice, and now it seems that it is not impossible. Jia Yan understood the power of this formation, and soon his figure disappeared into the formation with a sudden sound. Gone. That's right, Senior Kishi, Jia Yan has already left. Maybe with the speed of the formation's power, he has traveled a light year away. Did you do as I said and try to keep him as far away from the harassing sister as possible? We don't dare to do it too blatantly. After all, this person seems to understand the formation, so we arranged for the distance between him and concubine Kun to be about 2 light years. It seems relatively close, but the distance between him and concubine Kun is 2 light years. In our central star field, it is already quite far away, and there may be 1 or 2 forces in the middle, so please don't worry, Senior Kishi. It's not that I'm worried, but I feel that Jia Yan has some unique methods. Well, I hope Kunmiyaji will find his own destiny. By the way, your previous performance was very good. Senior was so complimentary, I was almost scared to death. Jia Yan, who left the Kaidi clan's residence, could no longer hear the murmurs behind him. He was just sensing the power of space around him. So that's it? The formation they used is the conversion of 2 quantum ether modes. Although it is not as exaggerated as letting my body reorganize on the other side, in fact, the current way of movement is not related to constant rebirth in a certain sense. There is not much difference, of course. This is the constant reorganization of the physical body, and it is in line with the principles of the universe. Jia Yan understood the content of this transmission. Body particles are constantly being dispersed, and then inexplicable self-organisms appear in distant places, and then they reappear, becoming the same Jia Yan as before, and move forward again. This approach is disturbing, but actually quite safe. Jia Yan's physical body seems to have self-awareness. As long as he wants to, he can destroy the current teleportation power and go to the outside world anytime and anywhere. However, this speed is much faster than the so-called teleportation in the other world. After all, in the other world so far, none of the teleportation arrays I have sat in can travel across an entire ocean. Although the current method of teleportation, it borrows a lot of transmission modes from the other world, but it can transmit 1 or 2 light years in 1 second. Compared with the teleportation array in the other world, the efficiency and speed are much higher, but it cannot be compared like this, because it uses the power of the white hole is so powerful that it is miraculous, so it is understandable that he has such speed. Jia Yan felt it for a moment and then withdrew his gaze. After looking at it for so long, he wanted to get some inspiration from it to evolve the power of the formation. By analogy, it's a pity that the systems of the 2 sides are very different. In fact, they are very far apart, so there is no reference to them. Even if they read too much, the ideas they generate are poisonous and may cause flaws in his formation power. Therefore, Jia Yan gave up studying the so-called teleportation array, just like he gave up studying the various array powers in the mainland area of the other world. The systems are all different. Except for the fact that their names are very similar and both contain the word array, the 2 techniques are almost unrelated. It is interesting to be able to integrate them. Okay, let's get back to our original thinking. The place where we are teleporting now should not be the place where we directly chase concubine Kun. If the Kaidi clan doesn't use small tricks, it will be impossible for them to be a big clan. Jia Yan fully understood their approach of possibly moving his teleportation area. But understanding does not mean that you will forgive. He was calculating that if the teleportation was relatively close to concubine Kun, then he would forgive them. If the teleportation goes in the wrong direction, then unfortunately, not only the group responsible for the teleportation will be unlucky, but they will even anger the Kaidi clan, and the unfinished war will continue. Unless the other party admits defeat and pays compensation. This is the momentum of a top master. No matter how powerful the Cai clan is, they don't have the lower rank of domain lords. They rely on Mr. N to avoid being killed by Jia Yan, and Jia Yan has the same surname as the Cai clan. Of course, the opponent must have the combat power of a late-level territory lord, but I don't know if this combat power is some old antique, or some kind of weapon, but Jia Yan is not afraid of these. It's not that he is not afraid of these weapons or strong men. Jia Yan believes that if the wealth of the rich family is really used, he, a visitor from the countryside, will probably fall into the trap. But the problem is that the Cai clan has endured it for so many years, and he has nothing to do with them, and he has never pretended to exterminate the clan. Is it necessary to use the ultimate weapon on himself? It's like a couple quarreling, and one of them grabs a gun and kills them. It's like two countries quarreling. Before even a few words of quarrel, the other country dropped a nuclear bomb. This doesn't make sense. So, they won't deliberately go against me like this. There is a high probability that the transmission this time will be crooked, but it won't be as crooked as the sky. I hope my guess is correct, otherwise I will have to go back to find them. Trouble. Jia Yan calmly analyzed it in his mind. Buzz. The world in front of me suddenly became brighter. We're here now. It feels like dozens of seconds have passed. From the perspective of space, we have moved several light years. This teleportation technology is indeed extremely terrifying. It's a pity that setting up this kind of teleportation array requires a white hole. This is only possible if we plant super large energy sources, otherwise I would have made a few for the trade zone. Jia Yan walked out of the white halo in front of him in surprise. Who? Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 3281. While Jia Yan was marveling at the Milky Way version of the teleportation array, a solemn and deep shout could be heard in his ears. He turned around and saw in the empty starry sky around him, several galaxy-level masters who were waiting in full formation, looking at Jia Yan with gloomy eyes. They had never seen such a huge individual coming out of the teleportation array. Hello everyone, I would like to ask a few of you whether you have seen Concubine Kun leave from here. Jia Yan looked at this group of galaxy-level masters. They were obviously the key people guarding this place, but they were not from the Cai clan, or not all from the Cai clan. It means that the person who was teleported here by the teleportation array has arrived in an area that does not entirely belong to the Cai clan. Who are you? They did not respond directly, but continued to shout coldly. Jia Yan was a little surprised. With his aura and size, when he comes to the center of the galaxy, no matter how stupid he is, he will know that his strength is earth-shattering. Why do you still dare to deal with yourself like this? Aren't you afraid that he will get angry and hurt others? Of course, Jia Yan thinks that he is not that kind of existence. It doesn't matter who I am, right? Anyway, I can come here through the Cai clan's teleportation array, which means it is relevant. Don't ruin this important matter, and quickly explain the whereabouts of Concubine Kun. The prepared posture of this group of galaxy-level masters has not changed. Jia Yan immediately understood that it must be Concubine Kun who had an explanation for them. Since you are so ignorant of good and evil, don't blame me for using non-peaceful means. Jia Yan's momentum dropped. The surrounding starry sky suddenly became stagnant. The expressions of the star sky levelers suddenly became confused. I don't know anything about Concubine Kun, so please forgive me, senior. I saw a high-level being from the galaxy among the crowd finally speaking respectfully. If it weren't for him, Jia Yan would really think that these defenders were loyal people. Lots of nonsense. He shouted. Well, since you don't want to mention it, let me ask you personally. Jia Yan stretched out one foot towards these galaxy-level masters. The next moment, the galaxy-class defenders who were waiting in full formation fell into a dazed and confused state one by one. Jia Yan's strength has reached this point, and he is no longer the Wu Xiaomeng he used to be. The galaxy level is extremely powerful, and generally those who do not follow the direction of training in brainwave power, even the late territory lords will have difficulty using techniques such as psychedelics on them. But Jia Yan is an exception. He might not have been able to do it a few decades ago. But today, he has long been reborn from before entering the other world, and has very different abilities and strength. The brainwave power is mixed with a lot of tau power, and the mysterious magic is unfolded. If you are not careful, even the high-level powerhouses in the galaxy will be hit. Anyway, the few in front of me couldn't resist at all. Tell me, where are you from? Did that Kun woman pass by you just now? Jia Yan asked with a normal expression. It seems that he is not surprised by the effect of his brainwave power. There is indeed nothing surprising. After all, his growth over the past few decades has been achieved through sweat and hard work. Every step has been very difficult. Compared with the rapid development of strength 100 years ago, it is much more solid. Therefore, there is really no surprise that he can use the power of brainwaves to confuse a group of galaxy-level experts. On the contrary, accidents happen when you miss. Well, Senior, we are the ones jointly guarded by the Kaidi clan and the Shanlu forces. This area is where the Shanlu forces are located. Shanlu forces? Concubine Kun's husband's family. Jia Yan was stunned and understood immediately. Concubine Kun sneaked into her husband's house. The power of the Cai Dai clan is greater than that of Shan. How about the Green clan? The Shanlu clan is naturally inferior to the Cai Dai clan, but there are people behind the Shanlu clan, and the Shanlu clan is just a pawn of the other party. I see, I'm wondering why Shanlu is so popular in this vast starry sky. Jia Yan came back to his senses. He had heard of Shanlishi a long time ago. Moreover, this mountain green force is scary because it is not the main force in the central star field of the Milky Way. But it is in the black hole area. Concubine Kun at that time chased Jia Yan out of the black hole area to the outside world. Now one can see that the Shanlu forces are so powerful in the central star field of the Milky Way, and their territory is not small. This shows that even if his energy is not comparable to that of the Cai Dai clan belonging to the aristocratic family, it certainly cannot be underestimated. Is Shanlu himself in this area now? Yes, Master Shanlu is resting in our territory at the moment. It is said that he will return to the secret training ground in a few days. Secret training ground? Jia Yan was confused when he heard that, and then he realized that the black hole area is a semi-public state in the Milky Way. Except for the top experts, even many galaxy-level people are not aware of the existence of the black hole area, or even if they are not aware of it. I know, so I'm not sure what it will look like inside. After all, the black hole area is so outrageous that if everyone knew about it, the whole world would be unhappy because the black hole area has blocked most of the core power of the galaxy. Although the black hole area is endorsed by the high-level powers of the galaxy, it should not be afraid of the outside world's reaction, but there are so many ants that bite the elephant to death. God knows whether the mysterious true identity of the black hole area will be broken if the outsiders continue to destroy it for a long time. Okay, you can go. Jia Yan silently released his control over this group of galaxy-level masters. Ah! This group of galactic-class people woke up one by one, and their eyes glanced at Jia Yan, already full of panic and very subtle hostility. Obviously they were frightened by Jia Yan's strength, and even if they were hostile, they did not dare to show it blatantly. In this land of teleporters, no one might come out for half a year, and if they are driven away, it does not count as being AWOL. After all, the situation is special. Shanlu, you are hiding behind a rumored senior territory lord, Concubine Kun. Do you really think they can protect you? Jia Yan snorted coldly, and his body turned into a lightning bolt and penetrated into the subspace. He did not ask these guys directly where the headquarters of the green forces in the central star region of the Milky Way was. The mountain man has his own clever plan. In other words, anyone who walks on the road accustomed to the starry sky can tell at a glance where the most prosperous place of a force is. The direction where a large number of ships are heading in the starry sky is destined to be the most prosperous place, and it is also destined to be the place where the strongest people are stationed. Ping pong. What a bastard! You went out to seduce other wild men, but you actually attracted the enemy here. Within the Shanlu forces. A creature that looks like an ancient tree, with a touch of green on top of its head, and a face full of anger. He slammed the bowl of wine to the ground. It provoked many beautiful female beings with little strength around them to scream in surprise. Shan Lu was still wondering why his wife, with whom he had a cold war, suddenly came to his temporary residence today. He thought this wife was ready to get back together with him. He knew his wife's temperament and ambition, but he couldn't bear it once, and even quarreled so much that his wife returned to her hometown. It was during that trip that concubine Kun met Jia Yan. Unexpectedly, he couldn't sit still in his lair in the black hole area. He missed his wife who was so versatile and powerful every day. Of course, the more important thing is that even if he leaves the restraint of his wife, he will not be able to quickly find another woman who surpasses his wife Kun in terms of strength, beauty, family background, and other conditions. The concubine is female. He gradually felt regretful, he shouldn't have forced concubine Kun away. Just when he thought that even if he went to the station in the Milky Way, it would be difficult to regain his wife's sincerity, concubine Kun actually returned to the station on her own initiative and even promised to get back on good terms with him. He almost believed it, and there was a flash of elation. But not long after, the soldiers guarding the teleportation array received information. It turns out that the so-called enemy of my wife has come to visit. And it is so powerful that even the galaxy level can use brainwave power to confuse him. What does this mean? It shows that if the opponent is a hallucinogenic brainwave power-based talent master, he is at least a senior domain lord level, and he is still the pinnacle of senior domain lord level. What if the brainwave power talent didn't exist? That's a bigger problem. Because that means that the opponent must be at least a lower level domain lord, not an ordinary lower level domain lord. Otherwise, without possessing the hallucinogenic talent, he can still use brute force to control a galaxy-level existence. It shows that his strength has reached a level that many ordinary domain lords at the lower level can hardly match. My dear, stop him for me. I know you are capable. Concubine Kun showed a pitiful expression, and she looked particularly pitiful to me. Under the reflection of the stars in the starry sky, her figure seemed to be looming and colorful, revealing the most stunning posture in the galaxy. You know, the strong men in the starry sky have different definitions of beauty and ugliness, but there are several recognized races that are absolutely perfect, and even life forms that are not of their race will consider them to be exquisite. The Cai clan is among them. The beautiful female of the colorful butterfly clan is even more stunning. Not to mention captivating a country, even a whole region is no exaggeration. There has been a story in history where the leader of a certain force dedicated his power and obeyed the orders of the Cai clan, thereby marrying the most beautiful female of the Cai clan at that time. As for concubine Kun, even if she can't keep up with that senior, she's probably still about the same. You bastard, you are so. Shan Lu was swearing, but the anger in his heart had already softened when concubine Kun was about to cry. Okay, let me think of a solution. Alas, if I had known, I wouldn't have married you. You are all trouble. If I had known, I wouldn't have gotten to know you, alas. While Shan Lu was muttering to himself, he fumbled for a few substances from a piece of green grass above his head. Soon, a mirror about several hundred meters wide was found among the green leaves. A familiar figure appeared in the mirror. It was the long-stick territory lord who had fought against Jia Yan before. Grandpa! Someone is knocking on the door. Come and save me. When Shanlu saw this long-stick creature, he let out a loud roar, which would make anyone who heard it sad and those who heard it cry. Humph, you kid, don't even think about Grandpa and me coming over. I had a fight with Jia Yan just now, and we were evenly matched. Huh. No distinction between superior and inferior. Shanlu was stunned. Some couldn't believe their ears. You know, his old man is one of the top masters who is famous all over the world. In the entire galaxy, many people recognize that his old man is also one of the strongest masters in the lower ranks of domain lords. Ordinary domain lords at the lower levels would not look down upon them. But what did he hear? He is actually on par with Jia Yan, the newcomer? Isn't this Jia Yan just promoted to the lower level of territory lord? How can it be? Grandpa, have you really fought against him? I didn't ask you before, could it be that you got the wrong person? That Jia Yan? He quickly wanted to ask clearly. Of course I know that Jia Yan belongs to the giant Mosquito clan, right? Or some kind of evolved beast. In short, I received information from a friend earlier and knew that he would appear, so I rushed to the White Cave area in person. I originally wanted to drive him away, but I couldn't. Unexpectedly, this person who is promoted as a peerless genius is really well deserved. Old man, I estimate that it will be difficult to deal with him without using his trump card. Moreover, he also has some hidden methods. If we really fight, it is still unclear who will win, so said, old man, I can't possibly take action for you anymore. Mentioning Jia Yan, the superiors over there showed admiration. Although he had just done it once, he was just as shocked at Jia Yan's strength, especially his talent, as compared to Sun Tzu Shanlu, or even more. Because he lived to witness the existence of countless legends. We, the Tree Tribe, have a long lifespan. I have witnessed countless masters in my life, and I have also witnessed too many meteor-like existences. Pair with it, Shanlu, if I were you, I would give up my grandson-in-law or make peace with her. I don't believe that such a smart child would be unwilling to make peace. After all, judging from the information you gave me, this matter is not irreparable. Paying enough benefits can indeed settle the matter. Jia Yan himself thinks so. Today, many conspiracies have surfaced, and concubine Kun herself is irrelevant. Jia Yan only needs a certain response. If he can receive the compensation he deserves and the conditions are sufficient, it is not impossible for him to give up pursuing concubine Kun. But Shanlu's little eyes growing on the trunks of the trees suddenly bulged. No. Grandpa, as a man, if I regress in this kind of thing, how will my subordinates and friends view me? Do I want to be a man again? Absolutely not, Grandpa, don't you still know many friends? If there are other friends who are good enough to deal with this Jia Yan, please introduce me to him. I have felt a little bit of a breakthrough recently. If my thoughts are not smooth because of this, and it hinders my breakthrough, wouldn't it be the end of me? Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 3282. What? Are you thinking of a breakthrough? Are you serious about this? The expression of the strong man with the long stick opposite the mirror changed drastically. The pure joy could not be suppressed at all, almost bursting out of the mirror. You know, this Mountain Green Territory Lord has reached the pinnacle level of a senior territory lord, and is an absolute master even in the black hole area. At the same time, he is the most accomplished descendant of this long stick master. If he also achieves the lower level of domain lord, there are too many benefits from this matter. The matter of two lower level domain lords in one subject is definitely unique in the galaxy's central star territory. Mountain Green's achievement of the lower level of territory lord is a great benefit for the long stick expert, and he also has another level of support. Okay. Great. Shanlu struck while the iron was hot, but Grandpa, if Jia Yan comes to kill me, my grandson will definitely fight with him. If there is a three-pronged and too promising situation, it may not be necessary. If I suffer some injuries, it may affect my future breakthroughs. You see. Good boy, so this is what you had in mind. I will find a way to arrange this for you. I hope you are not lying. The strong man with the long stick reacted, and his face became suspicious again. Of course I don't dare to deceive Grandpa in the slightest. Well, just wait, I will spend some favors to do something for you. The so-called favor. It also makes sense in a world of strong men. If you want to survive in the world, no matter where you go, you must deal with others, otherwise you will dig your own grave. Although there are few strong people, the number of favors and interactions between them is no less than that of ordinary life forms in the outside world. Even many masters will find ways to build favors and interactions with others even if they have nothing to do. This is also self-preservation to a certain extent. Such a method of self-protection has gradually evolved into an intricate network of relationships between a large number of powerful people and super-large forces throughout the central star field of the Milky Way. Many powerful people seem to have no background of their own, but if we really talk about it, there is something hidden behind them. The energy is frightening. Jia Yan, a guy who rashly ran into the central star field of the Milky Way from the outside world, can be said to be a recognized external threat in all alliance networks. He has unique skills and drive, and during his several trips there, he has done many things that can be said to be too numerous to describe. The strong man with the long stick is a legendary existence. Under his arrangement, I don't know how he will react. This power really feels like a big power. In comparison, I feel that the Cai clan is not as powerful as them. Jia Yan broke into the headquarters of the Shanlu forces in the central star region of the Milky Way, exchanging compliments along the way. The entire arrangement and defense were worthy of his first visit in this life. The levels of rationality and defense are like a perfect interlocking link. The last time Jia Yan encountered the interception of 3 battle-fort planets, he was almost hindered for a moment. Fortunately, he didn't delay too much and was able to kill the opponent's headquarters in one go. The subspace had been completely blocked after he broke into it. Jia Yan had the ability to break through and enter the deep layers, but this matter was his secret. In such an occasion, there was no need to use it. Although that guy is a lower-level territory lord, he still works alone and intercepts with all his strength. Let's see how many layers of defense he can break through my force. Once it becomes unsustainable, it's time for us to swarm up and kill him. Killing a lower-level territory lord, this honor can only belong to our Mountain Green Force army. The troops of the Shanlu forces are also very regular. When faced with the fierce offensive of a lower-level territory lord, he did not retreat at all. He was like a tough-minded flat-headed brother, harassing and sniping Jia Yan along the way. Jia Yan was so annoyed that he killed some of them with his backhand, but he didn't expect that these people were not afraid of death and would not bother to fight. When he killed some of them and continued on the road, they would be hanging far behind him again. It goes on like this forever. Jia Yan's power and others. The master is different. His energy seems to be endless and endless. It's hard to say what consumption is clean. But if you use it too much, you will get a little tired. This Mountain Green Forces army is stronger than the Kaidi force. After all, the Kaidi force is a family force. The lives of the children in the clan are too important. When they fight with me, most of them use drone tactics. I am not afraid of castles or anything like that. But this Mountain Green Force has a very different style, with strong morale and soldiers who are not afraid of death. It is indeed a force from the black hole area. From this point, it can be seen that the colorful butterfly force is not their level at all. Different from what the outside world claims, it's the Cai force that has surpassed the Shanlu force. Jia Yan has known this for a long time. It is impossible for the forces in the black hole region and the forces from the outside to belong to the same level. But what he never expected was that the gap would be so big. It's a pity that their tactics and momentum are good, and I, Jia Yan, am not bad either. If they want to drag me to death, I'm afraid they made the wrong calculation. But now, it's also an opportunity to consume their vitality. Jia Yan simply stopped getting rid of these large groups of mountain green soldiers. He advanced alone into the hinterland of Shanlu's forces, but his unhurried manner gave people a strong sense of shock. However, such an existence also caused great damage to the Shanlu forces. Countless troops perished in the flames of war with Jia Yan. The other surrounding forces that were paying attention to this battle were watching the fire from across the bank with great pleasure. However, at the same time, there were also many people or weaker people who were exclaiming, "This is the rear level of the territory lord. He is really invincible in the world. It is not a lie to break into a famous force in the central star field of the Milky Way and fight against tens of millions or even hundreds of millions of troops." However, many people also noticed that Jia Yan seemed to be gradually feeling exhausted. Every day in the fight, he was gradually becoming less powerful and his progress was gradually slowing down. Everyone believes that the final result is clear at a glance. Jia Yan probably couldn't withstand the crowd tactics and would withdraw from the battlefield before the strength warning period. In the end, this war would evolve into a verbal war between the two forces. After some time of wrangling, it would end with an agreement reached by both parties. Whenever there is a confrontation in the Milky Way involving the powerful people of the lower level of the territory lord, this is usually how it is handled. It is almost impossible to rely on pure numerical superiority to kill a lower level domain lord or make the other party give in. The lower level territory lords are really too strong. Compared with the senior territory lords, it seems that their strength has been cut off, soaring directly to another level. But even then, the people who watched this battle had no complaints. Being able to witness such a level battle in their lifetime would definitely be a big talk in the future. Everyone would stare at the newspapers and media with great interest. However, people were deeply impressed by Jia Yan's strength. The days were also hard for him to make any progress, and the stalemate reached the day 5 days after he invaded the Shanlu forces, when Jia Yan suddenly burst into life. Just like those days before, his weakness was completely fake. "Of course I'm just pretending, you can't even fathom the energy of the evolved beast." In the starry space, a dark figure was like the fleeting lightning, and the figure of the warship swept across the lightning and thunder. Boom 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 boom. Large exploding rays of light bloomed in the cosmic night sky, just like those gorgeous fireworks, exploding into debris everywhere, incomparably dead, but also absolutely full of blood. Inside each fighter plane, there was at least one pilot who was not too weak in strength, but at this moment, they were all swept away by Jia Yan and killed on the spot. He, actually still has such strength. Why is it that with such strength, you seem to be suppressed and beaten by us before? Ha ha ha, I know, he did this just to kill our living force. How hateful, my sworn brother, my best friend, and my teacher all died on those feet in the past few days under this. It is clear that their strength is not weak, but they were killed with just one blow. Ah, can we really kill such a monster? Jia Yan's sudden outburst was like a sap, hitting the hearts of many besieging troops who were still full of momentum. The 5-day fierce battle can be said to have a large number of personnel, but the number of troops who can really cause some trouble to Jia Yan does not exceed 5,000. They are all existences above the star level, but in just a few days, more than half of the class were killed by Jia Yan's lure, and more than half of the star class died tragically. With such casualties, they could no longer achieve the same attack intensity as before. What's more, Jia Yan's sudden burst of anger dealt a serious blow to their momentum. No matter how impressive and confident the troops are, there is a limit. It doesn't matter if many people die. What they fear most is the opponent they can never defeat. Not even a shred of hope could be seen, and the soldiers' hearts fluctuated violently, causing self-doubt. For a moment, the fighting spirit on the battlefield was weakened. Jia Yan found the opportunity and killed an opponent in the army, killing the opponent's soldiers and making them fall on their backs. Ah! It's impossible to beat him. I've told you before, How can we deal with low-ranking domain lords and such? Forget it, run away. If you run away, at least you have a chance to survive. If you don't run away, you really have no chance of survival. This Jia Yan is so amazing in group battles. According to rumors, he is not good at this. Is the lower level of territory lord really such an astonishing level? Mighty is indeed mighty, run away, run away. The troops that had been so powerful before suddenly turned into a complete defeat. A large number of experts led the troops and fled towards the hinterland of the starry sky behind them. What's more, he thought that if he returned to the mountain green forces like this, he might be punished by strict military laws, so he might as well just flee to the border. Even if he became a wandering strong man, he might still have a chance to survive. The situation of the battle took a turn for the worse. The Channel forces that had supported them for 5 days were instantly beaten to pieces by Jia Yan and had to escape in panic. The major forces in the surrounding starry sky, media and online information, urgently pursued the situation in the starry sky, and quickly conveyed the situation, triggering an explosive response from the entire public opinion circle and the internet circle. Countless people lamented that the powerful masters had not made a move for many years. This time they heard that the one who attacked the famous Shanlun force was a lower-level country lord. They also expected that the Shanl force could break the inability to use the powerful ones. The iron rule of confrontation with numbers, unexpectedly, the situation has been verified again. Even the powerful late-level domain lord who comes from the countryside is a myth that cannot be defeated. However, the efforts of this troop were not in vain. They resisted Jia Yan for 5 days. Even Jia Yan, who beat them to the ground, had to admit with emotion that the opponent was very strong. It's not like he doesn't have the opportunity to rush directly into the opponent's lair. But all this will become less perfect, and what if we rush in? If the Shanl forces are prepared and have some backup, he will be at an absolute disadvantage of being attacked from both sides. Although Jia Yan is not afraid, the danger will always be doubled, so he would rather advance step by step than take risks. In this way, they were delayed for 5 days. And during these 5 days, the Shanlu forces finally got the real backup they wanted to invite. A strong man bypassed the disputed area where the Shanlu forces were fighting fiercely, and entered the hinterland of the Shanl forces without any movement. I met my senior. I didn't expect that my grandfather actually invited my senior to come here in person. In this case, the sky has eyes, and Jia Yan, the culprit of the rampant killings, finally has someone to deal with him. The mountain green forces received the master who entered secretly in his palace. The expression on his face suddenly bloomed when he saw the other person's true face, as if the shit that had been held in for a long time was suddenly pulled out. Because he knows the opponent's name and strength. This person's existence, so far, is that he is the absolute strongest among the dual people through his grandfather, and it is not just the strongest. He knows it from the literature, and it should be in the past thousands of years. Come, the top one in the entire galaxy central star field. Unless there are rumors that he may have already passed away, looking for the book Garden OO, or has been in seclusion for thousands of years, and is preparing to find those existences that can break through the higher levels of the galaxy, it may be that this person's strength is arrogant among the others. The well-deserved number one among the lower ranks of domain lords. My child, there is no need to slander Jia Yan, and there is no need to promote yourself. Who is righteous and who is evil? There is no way to tell clearly in this world. I came here in person only at the invitation of your grandfather. You need to tell me whether you want Jia Yan to live or whether you want Jia Yan to die. The other party's words made people feel scared, as if they had encountered a natural enemy deep in their hearts. Very uncomfortable. Shanlu's expression changed again and again, and he resisted the frightened desire to run away with his head in his arms. He gritted his teeth and said, "Senior, I want that Jia Yan to die." Although it is not easy for a lower-level territory lord to practice, Jia Yan is so cruel and inhumane. It is the central star field of the Milky Way, not just the black hole area. According to the information my nephew has gathered from inside several giant stars, he has also brewed a lot of blood in those giant stars. But for some reason, he has not received any attention so far. The master punishes me and asks the seniors to take the place of those seniors who did not come forward and do what is right for heaven. WAP. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 3283. I have said it, no need to say anything profound and righteous. It is useless and unnecessary for me to be high-sounding. This strong man seemed to have seen through the world of mortals and spoke nonsense. The whole hall echoed with the opponent's words and oppression. When the frightened Shanla came to his senses, he looked up and his pupils shrank sharply again. It turned out that the senior who was still in front of him just now disappeared in the blink of an eye. As expected, he is an expert. It is said that even if this person has not reached the level of brewing a breakthrough, he is not far away. It depends on whether you die or not, Jia Yan. However, did Grandpa actually invite this person? The price for inviting him is probably extremely high. I don't know what our Shanl family will have to pay. Damn it, it was all the fault of that bitch. Look at what I am doing tonight. Not to put her. As he spoke, the green mountains disappeared. He had been tense for several days, but now that the important person in front of him came, the pressure was relieved, and he naturally wanted to relax. As for failure, the possibility doesn't exist. Because that person is such a being. In the starry sky, the wind and clouds changed color, and an endless stream of energy roared wildly. There is no need to hide or run away. You are just a floating cloud in front of a territory lord's backstage. It is meaningless to run or not to run away. Jia Yanking spoke in a stoic manner, with a look of neither sadness nor joy, giving him the air of a mysterious master. But it is true that if Jia Yan, a junior domain lord, cannot be called a master, then who else in the world can be called a master? His pretense is reasonable. Your name is Jia Yan, right? Just when Jia Yan was showing off his pretentiousness and hoping to invade the hinterland of the green forces as soon as possible, a sound like morning bells and evening drums sounded in his ears. Oh? Is there another friend who is coming here? Does the colorful butterfly clan have so many back UPS? Or is it that you were invited by the Shanlv clan? Jia Yan was surprised and looked at the place where the sound came from with a bit of curiosity. I saw a figure approaching slowly and unabashedly over there. However, Jia Yan felt chills stand on end at the first sight, and danger signals flashed deep in his heart. The one who comes is very strong. After all, I didn't notice its existence until it was close to 5,000 or 6,000 kilometers. This distance would be enough for a master from the other world to launch an attack. After all, does the other world exist? There are thousands of kilometers in size, and there are many tens of thousands of kilometers away. I have an old relationship with the Shanlv clan. The other party actually revealed his roots without thinking. Friends of the Shanla clan, that's right. If the friends of the Nidai clan wanted to fight back, they would have called out to them from the hinterland before. Jia Yan nodded, and then asked, "So my friend, what is your purpose for showing up this time? You don't want to have a relationship with me and want me to leave right now, do you?" The other party shook his head and said, "No, I appear this time just to make you retreat." Jia Yan looked at the opponent's figure carefully, and he saw a figure that looked like a robot, with obvious mechanical structures all over his body. If he could not feel the extremely powerful breath of life, Jia Yan would have regarded him as a technological creature. He also speaks in a loud voice, which is very unique. Whether I know what's interesting depends on your ability. Why don't you show me the real chapter? Ken. Both of them are obviously the kind of people who are not good at talking. Since they are going to take action, why waste any more words on pretense? Groan. Just as Jia Yan was speaking, he felt that the world in front of him changed and turned into some kind of scenery that he had seen before. It's all a sea of fire deep in the core of Mars. Are you a master of hallucinogenic abilities? He had nothing to be anxious about, he just drove calmly, he analyzed. You're wrong about this. I'm good at everything. Why don't you try my close combat again? That robot-like body. The body flashed out again, and instead of using the illusion field that had previously pulled Jia Yan into it to seize the opportunity, he used an upright direct attack. The moment the opponent attacked, Jia Yan felt something special. This Gao Shen was obviously different from the individuals he had encountered before, and his strength was astonishing. Of course, at the same time, the other party's character is probably extremely conceited. Maybe it's because strength brings confidence to Fafa. The power of the yin and yang of his feet was freely released, and his body shook, as if his muscle tissue was suddenly strengthened, and in an instant he shook out some earth-shattering evil energy. One of the techniques that combines Dao power with the powerful system of the universe, Yin Yang Tao combines Dao power to strengthen the body. The two collided without any tricks, and Jia Yan stumbled out the next moment, his eyes suddenly becoming a little horrified. It's so powerful. This is without using any training techniques. Who is this? His expression became gloomy and uncertain. He has experienced too many battles in this life, but there are only a handful of actual defeats, which makes Jia Yan himself quite arrogant. Now the team suddenly encountered a very powerful expert. It was obvious that he was at a disadvantage in the head-to-head confrontation, which made him unable to accept it for a while. Come again, the power of the formation. The so-called competitiveness only targets people of the same level. Under other circumstances, Jia Yan really wouldn't be like this. But when one move fell into a disadvantageous position, his anger increased, causing him to attack harder. I am also testing, I have met the real top masters of the same level in the galaxy, what is the gap? He is a person of good temperament. If you are not afraid of getting hurt, I will play a few more tricks with you. The person who came continued to make a mechanical buzzing sound in a serious manner. If he were an expert in the central star field of this galaxy, he would certainly have heard of this famous legendary existence, but Jia Yan was born in the Orion Arm in the countryside. Moreover, he is still very young, and he has not had much time to sit down and settle down until now, let alone get to know the veteran strong men of this galaxy. If he had known about it, his actions would have been even more restricted on the spot. After all, people are the shadow of famous trees. But because of his ignorance, Jia Yan let go of his hands and feet without any scruples, and instead showed his own style. Puff puff. Large swaths of blue formation surged out, followed the opponent's figure, and gradually turned into a long blue dragon, covering an entire area of hundreds of thousands of miles square. The obstruction is within. Is this the so-called power of formation? It turns out that it is using technology from the giant star. Haha, I have seen something similar more than 2,000 years ago. At that time, I thought that this road must be a dead end. Unexpectedly there really is that person's successor who developed this technique to such an extent, yes, yes. I saw the opponent surrounded by endless blue, still in a state of unwavering emotion, as if looking at Jia Yan's unconventional combat skills, it was as if he had seen it before. I am not ashamed to say that this technique was developed by myself. How come any seniors have used it before? Jia Yan snorted coldly, pressed his feet down, and the endless blue light between heaven and earth suddenly fell. Junior, you don't have to be harsh, have you ever said that there is nothing new in the world? What you think of as self-research and development is still based on predecessors' technology. What you think of as talent is still made by standing on the shoulders of predecessors. Yes, do you dare to recognize this sentence? Jia Yan was speechless for a moment. He couldn't answer. Because he also knew very well that if his so-called original fighting skills were separated from the inspiration of his predecessors, he would probably fall into a situation where he had no experience at all. But something feels wrong. He suddenly came back to his senses, his eyes becoming extremely sinister. You are a despicable and shameless person, you want to take this opportunity to break my cultivation heart. While he ordered the power of the formation to continue attacking, he broke into a cold sweat. I thought this person was very powerful. After all, Jia Yan knew that it would be unrealistic to casually kill masters with similar strength after reaching their level. And this person used words to attack his own heart. He was very young and prone to problems in his cultivation, so he almost let him use words to attack his heart accurately. Got hit. Sure enough, he was an opponent he had never seen before. He was extremely careful, aiming at the opponent's gap, and commanded his feet with the formation in his hand. Snap, snap, snap. A large array of circles fell. The other party shook his head and responded calmly, originally, I wanted to see the top genius of this era, but unfortunately, your performance has greatly disappointed me. Look, this kind of offensive is considered a treasure, and I guess even if you are here, if you become the son of this galaxy in another world, you cannot lead the heroes, so I might as well kill you to save you from losing the face of our galaxy in front of many starry sky masters. What? Jia Yan was shocked when he heard the other party talking about the other world. The power of the overwhelming formation in his hands was relaxed. It was seen that the robot still did not use its unique combat skills. As soon as he stepped away, the ring-like formation powers that Jia Yan was determined to win fell into the air one after another. Are you surprised? This method is called shaking Jin. It sounds simple, but it is very difficult to do. The robot still had the same attitude. It seemed that fighting to this level did not exceed his expectations. Jia Yan finally realized from the other party's determined attitude that this person was probably far from that simple regardless of his status or strength. Who is it? But no matter who it is, there is no need to worry about it. When the battle begins, no matter who you are, just give it your all. How powerful is it? It makes people very happy. Please use it more, sir. I'm afraid, Junior, that you are not worthy of my use anymore. Really? By the way, Senior said that I am not worthy of being a representative of the Milky Way. Does that mean anything? You don't have to answer right away. Why don't you evaluate me after seeing my next combat skills? Jia Yan was also so calm and composed. After coming out of the other world, he had a certain understanding in his heart. One's own strength are no longer limited by heaven's road. Although he still didn't know the true identity of the opponent's master, the battle ended like this, which was enough for him to understand the opponent's background. He has a weakness compared to the so-called supermaster. Of course, he can't hide it in one word, but it does make a little difference. He had vaguely fought against the supermaster in the other world, so why should he be afraid of this one? On the contrary, he was a little worried. If the other party was a higher status galaxy master, it meant that there was at least no one in the galaxy at the lower level of territory lord. Who can deal with so many supermasters in this world? What about the outer space creatures with even deeper and unfathomable powers? When the powerful people from the lower levels of the galaxy and even the top ones don't come out, do you really want to take the top position yourself? This is too ridiculous. I am just an existence that has just stepped into the lower level of territory lord for less than 100 years. Those of the same level who have lived for thousands or even thousands of years still expect me. Come on, Jia Yan, can I leave the Milky Way star in your hands and let me see it clearly? The robot's expression remained the same as before. Jia Yan stepped back and stopped talking nonsense. If you waste too much time talking, you will be at a disadvantage in this kind of battle. I saw Jia Yan's body blooming into pure blue in an instant. The endless blue light is like a small sun in the starry sky. With the power of yin and yang in his right hand and the power of formation in his left hand, large swaths of blue formations covered the surface of his body like a shadow. It didn't take long for Jia Yan's body to suddenly expand several times and turn into a supergiant mosquito covered in blue light. A gathering of energy. That is. To put it bluntly, the way he masters the power of the array is like accumulating the power from the past until now, and then releasing it superimposed at a certain moment. The level of power that can be released, to a certain extent, only determines the power he has accumulated in the past. How much power? Of course, there are too many things to pay attention to in actual operation, and it is impossible to accumulate infinitely. Initially, Jia Yan spent too much energy and time to solve the problem of time limit and the problem that the strength stack could only be reduced by half. The formation path, the power of cultivation, the yin and yang path, and the most special thing is the strongest evolved beast body that can support these. Now is the time to show the final result of the numerous unique advantages that Jia Yan has accumulated over the past decades. Oh! The tone of the robot that dodged the endless array attacks finally changed. Come on, let's see how flexible you are as a rising star. This one was the first to marvel. Next, he stretched out his palm and held a piece of the formation ring in his hand. As he shook his head, the sound of the robot rusting was extremely harsh. Amidst the explosions of thousands of formations, the robot's hand was almost overwhelmed and looked like it was about to break. But he didn't disconnect. It seems like it's just a hair's breadth, but it's 1,000 miles off. Very good. He clicked his tongue in surprise and scattered a large amount of the blue power of the formation, but found that the palm of his hand was completely black, with a lot of paint falling off, revealing a large area of biological tissue. What seemed normal to others was surprising enough to him. It is not uncommon for these palms to bring enemy attacks to naught. It has been a long, long time since I have been injured. It's still possible, but the stuff he has come up with now may be more interesting. This is without using the most famous subspace power. Isn't he still looking down on me? It's not that bad. He muttered a few words to himself in a self-deprecating way, then looked up in the distance to see Jia Yan, who had completed his transformation and became like a little sun. Whap! Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 3284. It will be more interesting next time. It seems that I deliberately sought the opportunity to meet the representatives of this new era. It seems to be the right decision. Jia Yan's eyes were like lightning, directed at this amazingly powerful robot. Next, let me show you the results of my cultivation over the past 100 years. Okay, let me see it. Jia Yan only felt that his whole body's strength was unimpeded, and he was facing a peak duel with a master who clearly had extraordinary strength, but he didn't even have the slightest hint of a group mentality. Maybe after so many years, he hasn't been able to find a good opponent for a good fight. Even deep in his heart, he is longing for this fight. In the distance of the smoke-filled battlefield, a group of stellar masters broadcast the scene. As long as the distance is far enough, even the stellar level can roughly withstand the aftermath of the battle between the super-powerful. Among them are star-level existences from within the mountain green forces. He outputs the picture stably. Selu, the top leader of the Shanlu forces, is on the other side of the screen, observing the battle with a serious expression. Kun, look at it. Because of you, my family suffered a lot of bleeding. Even this person was moved. How do you think you should compensate me? Beside him, concubine Kun, a beautiful female of the colorful butterfly tribe, was humming softly. Apparently the two starry sky beasts were doing something shameful. Well, husband, I was in the wrong body for this matter. If the matter is settled, how about I give birth to a baby for you? Have a baby? Concubine Kun had been asking for it for about 50 years, but Concubine Kun didn't agree to it. Now she is willing? You must know that the greatest value of a strong female creature is to give birth to excellent genetic offspring for supermasters. But they also take advantage of this, making it difficult for males to succeed. Even the eldest female in a marriage will control her reproductive ability. Only after achieving a certain goal can she give birth to children for her partner. Otherwise, she will not give birth to children. No matter how you coerce or induce them, it will be difficult to make them willingly give birth to good enough juniors for you. These are not difficult to achieve for females who are also strong in their own right. Shanlu had been longing for Concubine Kun to continue his descendants earlier, but Concubine Kun used various excuses to put her off. Unexpectedly, he took the initiative to speak today. How could he be so happy? Great, I'm about to make a breakthrough. If you can take this opportunity to continue my excellent bloodline, it will be a double blessing. This matter will be enough to elevate my status as a Shanlu power. Shanlu was ecstatic. Don't underestimate the issue of successors. This kind of thing is also closely related to politics in terms of forces. Many leaders of forces who have no descendants are not regarded as qualified leaders, because once they come out, it will be because of the inheritance within the force. The situation was turbulent, so it was difficult for the subordinates to feel loyal to the leader who failed to produce outstanding descendants. In addition, Shanlu was right, his breakthrough was imminent, and Concubine Kun was willing to give birth for him, so why couldn't this be a double happiness? Here comes the scene, haha, let's use the scene of Jia Yan being beaten by that senior to add to the fun. Don't you admire this person very much? Let me show you how the real master of the lower level of the domain master killed the newcomer. The frog in the well. Shan Lalong looked overjoyed, casually looked at the intelligence information, and then came up with a good idea with twinkling eyes. He had heard about Concubine Kun's actions following Jia Yan. Although he had already guessed that his beautiful and thoughtful concubine definitely had an intention to get close to Jia Yan. A powerful female of such an age could not easily develop a crush on a baby who seemed to be just born. This was like it is the same reason why among human beings, no adult woman would fall in love with a baby. But he was still not that intolerant of his woman pretending to be attracted to another man. So I wanted to take this opportunity to let Concubine Kun personally witness how the little brat she so favored fell into the hands of that big shot. The screen appears quickly. Colorful. Concubine Kun, who was confused, looked strange for a while when she saw the familiar but extremely young giant mosquito figure in the dark. But what Dacian did made her feel a certain sense of shame. Look, Jia Yan is nothing more than that. He can't stand a single move under the attack of Senior, huh? The green leaves and hair of the mountain green suddenly appeared solidified. Concubine Kun also showed surprise. It turned out that the giant holographic screen in front of them vividly showed the scene of the great master being forced back by Jia Yan's blow. This Senior is injured? Impossible. He is that big shot. Selu couldn't help mumbling to himself. Concubine Kun's beautiful eyes were shining brightly, and a smile appeared on the corners of her butterfly lips. What a Jia Yan! I actually underestimated you. The scene on the battlefield was exactly what the Shanlv couple had seen. Jia Yan successfully counterattacked the robot-like top expert with one blow. An injury appeared again on the palm of the robot's hand, and this time the injury was different from the last time. More flesh and skin tissue was exposed in the entire palm of the hand, indicating that the injury was more serious than before. Amidst the smoke, the strong robot retreated violently. His expression was still so joyless, but he couldn't help spitting out words of praise. Thank you, my senior friend. Do you know Na Hai Tien? Jia Yan's nonsensical question stopped the robot who was about to bully him for a moment. But in the next moment, he was still in front of Jia Yan, and the flash of his palm seemed to be a disaster. After making Jia Yan's eyes moved, his body retreated and entered the subspace. This attack seemed to be unwavering, but Jia Yan's fighting instinct told him that if he were to attack forcefully, something bad would happen. So he chose the most effective way to dodge, using his subspace talent. After all, he is the most well-known top master in the subspace, and it is only natural to use his own strength. He cannot be particular about fair use of skills in this situation. Unless you are a fool. What a dodge. It's a pity that your subdimensional ability is mediocre in my opinion. Before Jia Yan had time to use the forcible tearing ability of the subspace, he appeared behind the opponent and started to assassinate him. The master suddenly seemed to have eyes in the back of his head, and slapped his palm back with a pop silently, and Jia Yan's attack disappeared together. Just like that, Jia Yan felt a hot and sharp pain in his newly strengthened foot. When he returned to the subspace and pumped his foot, he saw that there were cracks in his foot, and he couldn't help but take a breath. Good guy, the robot he was fighting with was a bit too strong. This is just a scratch. If it collides with it head-on, wouldn't it mean that the foot will be destroyed? Very good, very bad. But what Jia Yan wants is such an opponent. Otherwise, how can I see the results of my practice over the years? Are you still persisting? Jia Yan, you have done well enough. I have been a living being for more than 100 years. I have seen many talented people in this life, but no one can compare with you. In this battle, I won't kill you, but I want to restrict you from doing certain things. Instead of letting me do it myself and lose face in public, why not just let it go? Compared to me, you, a newcomer, should have more face. Bar. It's rare for a robot to say so much in one breath. Jia Yan snorted coldly. Treat the injury deep in the subspace, use energy to treat the foot, and there will be no problem in the temporary confrontation. His brainwave power moved, and explosives appeared in the depths of subspace with great difficulty. In fact, the current fighting environment is extremely restrained for Jia Yan. After all, the surrounding subspace is still controlled by the high-power machines within the channel forces. Jia Yan can only use greater subspace control to snatch the only by controlling as much subspace as possible can we create new possibilities in the subspace controlled by the enemy. He believed that if he were in a normal space, his subspace ability would definitely make the opponent more troublesome. But saying this kind of thing is just an excuse. You really failed, it only shows that your ability is so low. Everything else is just excuses. Puff. Jia Yan flashed out of a new space. I've said it many times, you and I are not on the same level, so why are you still resisting needlessly? The robot sneered and stretched out his palm with a calm expression. So far, Jia Yan has only seen him use his own palms. And for a master who has reached the lower level of a territory lord, it is obviously quite unreasonable to only master one method of attack and defense. The only reason is that this person has not fully exerted his strength until now. The unfathomable feeling caused Jia Yan to almost overturn his conclusion, feeling that he was more than a master. But he was not wrong. Good boy, you still have such a move. Good guy, the robot he was fighting with was a bit too strong. This is just a scratch. If it collides with it head-on, wouldn't it mean that the foot will be destroyed? Very good, very bad. But what Jia Yan wants is such an opponent. Otherwise, how can I see the results of my practice over the years? Are you still persisting? Jia Yan, you have done well enough. I have been a living being for more than 100 years. I have seen many talented people in this life, but no one can compare with you. In this battle, I won't kill you, but I want to restrict you from doing certain things. Instead of letting me do it myself and lose face in public, why not just let it go? Compared to me, you, a newcomer, should have more face. Bar. It's rare for a robot to say so much in one breath. Jia Yan snorted coldly. Treat the injury deep in the subspace, use energy to treat the foot, and there will be no problem in the temporary confrontation. His brainwave power moved, and explosives appeared in the depths of subspace with great difficulty. In fact, the current fighting environment is extremely restrained for Jia Yan. After all, the surrounding subspace is still controlled by the high-power machines within the channel forces. Jia Yan can only use greater subspace control to snatch the only by controlling as much subspace as possible can we create new possibilities in the subspace controlled by the enemy. He believed that if he were in a normal space, his subspace ability would definitely make the opponent more troublesome. But saying this kind of thing is just an excuse. You really failed, it only shows that your ability is so low. Everything else is just excuses. Puff. Jia Yan flashed out of a new space. I've said it many times, you and I are not on the same level, so why are you still resisting needlessly? The robot sneered and stretched out his palm with a calm expression. So far, Jia Yan has only seen him use his own palms. And for a master who has reached the lower level of a territory lord, it is obviously quite unreasonable to only master one method of attack and defense. The only reason is that this person has not fully exerted his strength until now. The unfathomable feeling caused Jia Yan to almost overturn his conclusion, feeling that he was more than a master. But he was not wrong. Good boy, you still have such a move, good guy. The robot he was fighting with was a bit too strong. This is just a scratch. If it collides with it head-on, wouldn't it mean that the foot will be destroyed? Very good, very bad. But what Jia Yan wants is such an opponent. Otherwise, how can I see the achievements I have made in these years of cultivation? The result. Are you still persisting? Jia Yan, you have done well enough. I have been a living being for more than 100 years. I have seen many talented people in this life, but no one can compare with you. In this battle, I won't kill you, but I want to restrict you from doing certain things. Instead of letting me do it myself and lose face in public, why not just let it go? Compared to me, you, a newcomer, should have more face. Bar. It's rare for a robot to say so much in one breath. Jia Yan snorted coldly. Treat the injury deep in the subspace, use energy to treat the foot, and there will be no problem in the temporary confrontation. His brainwave power moved, and explosives appeared in the depths of subspace with great difficulty. In fact, the current fighting environment is extremely restrained for Jia Yan. After all, the surrounding subspace is still controlled by the high-power machines within the channel forces. Jia Yan can only use his greater subspace control to find books. Only by seizing control of as much subspace as possible can we create new possibilities in the subspace controlled by the enemy. He believed that if he were in a normal space, his subspace ability would definitely make the opponent more troublesome. But saying this kind of thing is just an excuse. You really failed, it only shows that your ability is so low. Everything else is just excuses. Puff. Jia Yan flashed out of a new space. I've said it many times, you and I are not on the same level, so why are you still resisting needlessly? The robot sneered and stretched out his palm with a calm expression. So far, Jia Yan has only seen him use his own palms. And a master who has reached the lower level of the territory lord.